Hey, what's up, everyone? It's GameFace, episode 345 on Sifted Games at sifted.net. We have a great show for you guys today. Two gigantic games, one of which just came out today, another one that came out on Friday. We got Apple's big headset that was just announced yesterday. The timing's working out great for this episode. Alongside me to discuss all these things is Matthew Kyle. What's up, Matt?
No, not a lot.
How's that hand feeling from all that Street Fighter?
Thumb's sore. I shouldn't be using a D-pad for that.
My hands are so out of shape. I hadn't even realized how long it had been since I had seriously played a fighting game, and my left hand is like killing me. Like after the first day of really playing Street Fighter 6, I was like, I'm like gamer out of shape. Like I found it very bizarre. I don't know if any of you guys are going through that right now with Street Fighter, but like it's I play fighting games, but I'll play them for like, half a day, and I'm like, I get it, and that's enough to talk about it. Like when I really dove into Street Fighter 6, I just haven't put my hands through this for a really long time. It's kind of cool to have Nintendo thumb again. It's been quite a while since I've had it.
Yeah, I should switch to my stick, but I'm too lazy.
Yeah, I don't have a stick. I wish I did.
I do. I'm pretty sure the Street Fighter 5 stick I had for PS4 works.
Yeah.
On this one, I just haven't.
It's always hard to tell whether like from one generation to another where all those peripherals will work or not.
If I remember right, this one like the official stuff does, or at least from PlayStation. I don't know about Xbox. I have so many Xbox 360 like Mad Cat sticks just because. A, from like because I was much more into the Street Fighter 4 like tournament scene, and B, because I was doing like product stuff on G4, and so I was doing stuff with Mad Cats and Hori, and they would send me stuff all the time, and no one else on the team cared about any of that. So I have like so many weird fighting sticks just because of that deal.
I have but you gave me actually a stick not that long ago. And it does not work on PlayStation 5. It didn't work on PlayStation 4 either. I think it was a PS3 stick or something like that.
Yeah, that would track. I have a gorgeous Hori one that I don't think works anymore on modern systems. It's like the Shadow Blade or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just this beautiful, like all black, shiny black with like blue LEDs, and it was wonderful. But I don't think it works on modern systems anymore.
Everything, in my opinion, from the PS4 era forward should work.
You'd think so.
I mean otherwise it's just greed.
Some of the forward stuff is just because Mad Catz went out of business.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's sketchy, and some of it's just like some of it is just like Sony or Microsoft not wanting to update that or wanted to. Some of that's not on the companies. Some of it's on the console manufacturer. But like, I'm pretty sure the Street Fighter 5 one works. So I'm gonna deal with that.
It may be time for your boy Shane to just invest in an arcade stick.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have a ton of sticks, but I don't think I have any other than that Street Fighter 5 one that would update to a modern system. Like I don't think any of my other ones. I have them because like.
I have sticks. They just don't work anymore.
Maybe one day I have a big Street Fighter 4 party on 360 and we need a bunch of... I don't know why I still have all those fucking things.
I have lots of stuff like that where I'm like, maybe... So, and it's like that never happens. It's never going to happen.
It's like why I still have all my Rock Band shit.
Yeah, I know. It's like, maybe someday I'll have all the
big old Rock Band party.
Never gonna happen.
Your downstairs neighbors will love the drummer.
Yeah, or I will love getting all the drum parts out of the closet that I had to stack in there all perfectly like Jenga to get it to fit.
I mean, I thought about it recently, and I started looking at like the prices of some of it because I have all of it. I just don't know where some of it is.
And it's like maybe I'll just buy it instead of digging it up.
That Rock Band like Xbox One like translator connector thing. That goes for like $400
because it's the key.
It's the thing you need.
You have to have it. Yep.
Unbelievable.
Yep. Anyway, I hope you guys have had a great week. I'm sure you guys have been playing these awesome games as well. And then don't forget, Matt, that it's easy to forget that this is E3 week.
Well,
I mean,
in another timeline.
Right. But what I'm saying is like normally
this would have been
like I was driving over here today and I realized that like my hype level is like down here. Because there's no E3. Like, normally right now, my heart and soul would start getting revved up and like, here we go, here comes E3. And now with this new thing that we got going on, it's like, Like, it's easy to talk about E3 going away when it's not here. But then when the week comes where it's actually supposed to be there and you're just normal, like, it's hard to explain.
I would never have known if you didn't say something.
Oh, really?
I cannot, other than seeing all the people I want to see, the people that don't come into town all at the same time, otherwise, like the Packers Party or like various events. Other than that, like it will make zero difference to my day-to-day life. I mean, I'm looking forward to the Xbox thing on the 11th. Like Aaron Greenberg's been on Twitter going on. It was like no all CG trailers. We're gonna market me out. Like he seems pretty. He's not doing the tempered expectations this time this time, which is good. And like, it cannot be emphasized how much Starfield needs to blow the fucking doors off this thing.
It really does.
Apparently, we are going to see Fable. Apparently.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah.
So, and you see the Everwild update?
No.
First time in years somebody updated. I mean, it was like more of a thing someone heard talking to a Rare person recently, but I can't remember who it was, unfortunately. But they said that the closest comparison is Viva Pinata.
Oh.
That it has very strongly morphed away from the sort of implied survival game. It sort of... Because they
now it's raising animals again?
They said they didn't know what the game was going to be back when they did the interviews after that big trailer from like, what was that, 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
It's longer than that, yeah.
Oh yeah, because 2 years ago would have been after the pandemic,
right? Isn't it weird how you just eliminate those
like
3 years?
It
didn't exist. Yeah.
But like I was trying to figure out. I went to 2 concerts this past week, and that's the first concerts I've been to since I think maybe 2016.
Oh really?
And like I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't been to a concert in like 3 years, and people are like, wait, 2016 was like 7 years ago. I'm like, all right, yeah, it's different.
It's an experience going to your first concert after COVID.
Yeah, everybody's so rude.
Yeah, like, you're like nothing changed.
I'm just gonna tell y'all right now. If you're going to a concert and you're freaking out and you're screaming and you're singing along and you're jumping up and down and dancing, awesome. That's what a concert's for. If they play a song you don't care about, do not talk through the whole fucking song because other people might want to hear it.
Yep.
Holy shit.
Or putting the phones up in front of you so you can't see the stage. Because you know what? There's not going to be like 800 YouTube videos from everybody else up on YouTube by the time you walk out of the venue.
Well, I was at one last night that like, so it was a surprise show, Counting Crows, at the Troubadour, which I've never seen them in a venue that small.
Yeah.
There was like 200 people there.
Yeah.
And you could tell we were all old. Because it was old people playing old music for a bunch of old people. You could tell we're all old because when they first came out and started playing, all the phones go up and everybody takes pictures, and then all the phones went away and never came
saw
back.
it again.
Everyone wanted their picture, and now we're just going to listen to the music. Yeah. And it was great.
Well, last time I was there, I went and saw Dag Nasty, which is like a hardcore band from DC, and there were no phones because there was a pit.
Right.
And that's one thing I'll say, like...
There was no pit at Counting Crows.
Yeah, right. But my point is, like, there's certain genres where that doesn't happen because people are too worried about actually listening to the music, believe it or not. So I hear you, man. Like, I hate the modern concert scene where you go and people don't watch the concert. They watch it through they're looking at their phone. It's like, what are you doing?
I didn't see too much of that in these two because it's
for older clientele.
Older audience. But so the other one was last week. It was the National. They're great. Which is the Greek, which is fine because even if someone's holding their phone up, I can't see it because the tiered seating is good. But so I've seen them, I think 11 or 12 times, and this is the first time since like 2016. But like there were 2 girls behind us who like were talking. One of them, they were very young. They were like maybe 18, 19.
Surprised they were there.
Well, that's the thing. They're like, the one girl's like, I've seen them like 5 times, and I'm just like,
wow.
Kid, I've been seeing these guys before you existed. I'm pretty sure.
Probably before they were alive.
But it was interesting because she loved the current stuff, like the last 3 albums, and I like their first 4 albums more. And so every time the old stuff that I like a lot came on, she'd just start fucking talking to her friend, and I'm like,
excuse me, this is my favorite song.
And usually it doesn't matter, like, because they're pretty loud, there's a lot. But when they sing something like quieter, like about today, like halfway through, I'm like, I want to say something, but if I say something,
then you're bothering other people too.
No, and also if I say something, I'm going to miss more of the song.
Right.
Than if I just unbelievable. Like people have no concept of other people around them anymore.
I am glad that we're able to go back to concerts.
Yeah,
it's nice. Yeah,
sure.
So thank God we finally got through all that stuff, and we're kind of getting back to life as normal. I hope you guys are kind of able to go out and do some of the fun stuff as well. Let's see. Do we have any other things to address? Oh, you guys are probably wondering like what we're doing. Oh. That all started with the E3 discussion, by the way. Normally, this time of year, like, I am prepared to
Concerts are back, E3 is not.
Yeah.
That's the moral there.
I'm prepared to, like, be overwhelmed. Like, I get in this mode of like, you know what? I'm probably not going to be able to like cover everything and play everything, and that's okay. I'm one person. It's all I can do. Like, now I'm like, okay, I'll put my feet up on the couch and I'll watch something for an hour. Like, it's just
Man, welcome to my world since like 2014. Like, it's a better place. I
don't think it is. I don't like it better. I'd rather be hyped.
I mean,
I
have not been super hyped for anything since the aughts.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, games. So
2010 was your tipping point,
somewhere
basically.
around there. Yeah, like it was. They lost the ability to really like blow me away and shock me outside of individual little things.
Yeah.
Like there used to be one of the, even like the year they blew the doors off the Twilight Princess thing and everybody freaked out, and I literally saw adult humans crying on the floor of the Kodak Theater because they showed Zelda. I'm like, okay, people, come on. That was one of my earliest indications that the Nintendo fans might not be all right, but like it hit a point where, if you look around at the other stuff that year, there was tons of, it was something, this was exciting here, this was exciting, this is exciting. And I don't know if I got old or the games just got more predictable. Not that I care. I mean, but they hit a point where I'm like, until I get my hands on this thing and I'm saving my progress on my own account, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I certainly am excited about Starfield, but would I be excited to see Starfield like displayed on a giant screen at the theater that they always Microsoft? They would have their own theater now, so it'd be their theater at LA Live. Or like to go play like 5 minutes of it on a demo. No, I wouldn't.
I would.
I would. I don't care until it counts. Frankly, I don't even like.
It all counts to me.
I don't even like betas that much.
Yeah.
And it counts.
I want to see how it feels to play. I want to see if the shooting in Starfield is trash, because that's my biggest fear.
I will find out when I have the game. I don't care. I don't want to play it early. I don't care about... The only reason I would care about playing any of that early is to talk about it on this show. If I wasn't doing this show, I would never think about that shit until the day it came out.
Well, I would just say this. Based upon the numbers and the betas for these big games, you are an anomaly. Most people thirst to play these games early.
Yeah, I see. But if you can't carry that save over, you can go fuck yourself.
I will agree. Like, I prefer betas where the save, and we'll talk about. Sure. We're going to talk about Diablo 4 here in a minute,
because then it counts,
right?
Like, to me, that's what I mean by counts, is if I can carry my progress over. Square Enix, for all its stupid ideas, and it has a lot of stupid ideas.
But look, Vincent is bringing up a good point. You have tons of money to buy whatever you want. Other people are making purchase decisions by playing this stuff early, or seeing this stuff early, or getting reports from people like us early. They're trying to figure out whether they should buy stuff or not.
Oh, sure.
To you, that doesn't matter.
It doesn't, but also it never mattered to me.
But you've always not had to worry about money.
Well, I mean, there was less time to buy everything. I mean, I never had to worry about paying for games for 12 years because I was in the industry, like, reviewing shit. But at the same time, like, even back then, beyond like the preview discs we'd get, like, I'd dabble with them a bit, but I don't care until I can actually really get into it, and I don't feel I can fully get into it until it counts.
Yeah.
And, like, also, if I wasn't doing this, I would play a lot less games.
I will say this, it does spoil a little bit of the excitement of the game coming out on day one.
I guess.
The feeling of the unknowing, is this going to be great? Is it going to suck? Like, you kind of know already.
Well, I feel like you're coming from the Diablo 4 experience on that, which is more pronounced in that regard than I've seen in a very long time.
For sure. Yeah.
Which is partly because they let you play so much of it for the beta. I mean, which is good.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, no, it's very like, there's a moment early in playing the final version of Diablo 4 where you're like, if you played the beta and because I got to level 20 to get the wolf pup backpack, I did all that shit, and I'm like, I got to play like 20 hours
all over again.
See new shit. Like, it's like, I got to kill so many goat men between now and then. It's like, it's like, there is a realization of like, this is why I like stuff that carries the save over.
Yep. So anyway, E3 stuff. The way everything's timing out, like, I think we're just going to do a show on Tuesday, Matt, and it may be a little longer than normal, because everything is done by Tuesday. So Microsoft's thing is Sunday. Capcom just announced a thing for Monday. Like, by a week from today, like, all the cards are going to be on the table. And I mentioned this in last week's episode. It's, I believe, for the quality of our shows and our content that it's much better to have time to, one, digest all the information so you can formulate your opinions and your takes on it, but also to have the media ready to show you guys as we discuss the stuff. So as of right now, we're probably just going to do GameFace business as usual next Tuesday, and we will wrap up all the stuff that's going to happen here over the next 7 days. It's going to be one hell of an episode of GameFace, probably the best episode of the year. And that's what we're aiming for.
Ubisoft Monday?
Ubisoft, is it Monday?
I can't remember.
I thought it was... No, I think it is Monday, actually.
Is it?
Yeah. Or maybe it's Tuesday. We'll have to check.
I want to say... I feel like the number 12 is in my head attached to that. I might be wrong.
The 12th is Monday, and that's Capcom.
Ubisoft is... Vincent says Ubisoft is Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So... your boy Shane's going to be busting his ass to get that Tuesday.
I'm very curious about that one because I don't know what the fuck they're going to show. Is it just me Just Dance for an hour?
Right.
What are you going to do?
Well, yeah,
I guess it's Assassin's Creed Mirage.
I think that'll get a big chunk of it, but
maybe an update on that service that's never coming out.
Right.
What is that? Assassin's Creed Infinity?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, Infinity.
Yeah.
What the hell happened to that? I mean, they have to release the game so that they'll all snap together.
I'd love to see that Star Wars game, but I feel like that's... I mean, there's people that say that's close.
Trailer, I guess, probably.
Yeah, I mean, at least an acknowledgement.
Yeah. But it's all. I think it's all going to work out because we're going to have Microsoft on Sunday, and then those two big things on Monday, and then, boom, GameFace on Tuesday. So the scheduling, I think, is actually working out. Jeff's thing is... that Thursday?
I don't know.
And I guess we're going to see the first Mortal Kombat 1 stuff at Jeff's thing. That seems to be the big headliner for Summer Game Fest, which is awesome. So I'm excited to see that as well.
You're the fighting game, apparently.
Yep. So anyway, that's kind of our loose schedule. As always, as I say, follow us on Twitter. If you watch any of our content on the site, ask Shane anything this Friday. Probably going to talk about that stuff, lay everything out for you guys. If you're in tune with what's going on at Sifted, you'll know exactly what we're going to do for all the not E3 stuff is what I've been calling it. So... Time Zini, no Sifted Reacts. We don't really do reacts like we have in the past, but like...
That was more like... I mean, again, when it was E3 week, it made more sense to do all of that real time because it actually saved you work.
Because we could sit in here or wherever we had our studio for all day.
And it was all day.
And just bang it out. Now it's so spread out. Like
now you have to be... It's just a lot of driving and getting people to show up to watch it at the time at different time. Yeah,
it's different. It's not E3 anymore. And so, a lot of you guys are like, I don't care about E3, but this is one of the byproducts of not E3 is that it's just not set up the way that it used to be. We can't sit in a room and bang out like 3 or 4 press conferences in a day.
I mean, I don't mind that either just because it was the audio never worked.
Right, because it was always a nightmare. We were always scrambling trying to get like the audio from the stream, going through the TriCaster, and then making sure that it did.
It never worked the same way twice.
It never did. No. It was always bizarre. We'd always figure it out just at the nick of time. Yeah. It's so funny. So that's one part of E3 I will not miss. But anyway, there won't be. Well, there will be. We'll react to everything, but we'll actually have formulated opinions instead of just flying off the handle. And look, we're not the people who are going to do the backflip out of our chair over Shenmue anyway. Like,
no.
That's just not our style. If you haven't figured it out, we're not like the crazy fanboy reactionary people.
Reaction to Shenmue 3 is about as reactive as I get, and I think that was like, oh wow,
yeah, that's awesome.
Didn't expect that.
Yes. So anyway, you guys know how we roll.
When they first announced it, I kind of wanted to jump in early, and I tried on my phone while we were live to try to get in the pledge that would get you his jacket. Mm-hmm. But I'm so glad I didn't get that now because, oh boy, did I hate Shenmue 3.
So did I.
What a terrible
game.
game.
Literally, hated it.
It's terrible. I'll tell you this.
It is really abysmal.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. I played it a little bit earlier this year with a mod on the PC that removes the stamina meter.
That would help.
And it way better. Yeah. Way better game. I mean, it's still not...
great,
good,
yeah,
but it's like it doesn't feel like you're playing like a terrible weird.
I mean, I had to force myself through the amount of hours that I played Shenmue 3.
It's really just awful, yeah. And that's just someone who has a signed Shenmue poster.
I'll Indian wrestle anyone who says otherwise because you're wrong. You are wrong. Okay, we got a lot of housekeeping to get to before we get to the show proper, and we have a ton of games to talk about in the big bulk of the show, so we need to get moving. First up, big story this week, Matt. Jason Schreier, another expose. We all probably should have seen this coming. I don't know why I didn't.
We were right about a bunch of shit we speculated on about that thing.
Yeah, he basically busted Arcane's balls over Redfall. He went behind the scenes, talked with a lot of people who worked on the game.
And And I was right. It was leftover stuff from before the acquisition that Microsoft just basically let go. Mm-hmm. I love the most damning line in that is like the other Arcane employees that hoped that Microsoft would cancel it.
Oh.
Like,
is there more damning comment than
they
that?
hoped that they would cancel it or reboot it as a single player game.
Yeah,
and it was exactly what we were talking about. It's like, why would you make Arcane, the immersive sim people, make a multiplayer shooter? It's so weird.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Again, it was low-hanging fruit for Xbox. It was like, look, we bought these guys. This stuff is like, they're halfway done with this. We can show some early returns on this investment. But it ended up blowing up in Microsoft's face.
Yeah, and you throw this concept at like a Prey design idea, and I think you might have something. That's an interesting thing.
It is. Just poorly executed.
Yeah, but like it's not what they did. They did this weird halfway, quarter way thing, and it turned out to be a mess. And it's like a lot of that article explains a lot, like why it's empty all the time, and you're sort of wandering an abandoned. Like, where are the enemies? Like one of the things that I always find a little oppressive about games like that, like Left 4 Dead and stuff, is that you're just constantly fighting, so you can't get anywhere because it's and then. For points in Redfall, I'm like, where is everybody? Like,
yeah.
Aren't there supposed to be vampires in this town?
Right.
Everybody just walked to the fucking store. Who cares? Nobody here.
Like, yep. Vincent's asking, worst game, Redfall or Bleeding Edge?
Well, what's Bleeding Edge?
I vaguely remember it. It was like some third-party, like, vampire thing.
Oh, I don't remember that at all. I understand Golem's bad. I haven't played it. I don't know if Redfall is worse than Wanted Dead. Wanted Dead is probably the worst thing I played.
That's a good comparison.
Wanted Dead's probably the worst thing I played this year.
Golem is worse than Redfall, for sure. Even though their Metacritics are the same, basically, Golem is way worse than Redfall. Like, Golem is just incompetent, whereas Redfall is a product of poor decision-making. Like, Golem is just a game made by people who had no business making an action-adventure game. This was just like wrong team, wrong concept.
It's just kind of dull.
Yeah. But it was like, it works.
I love the thing where they couldn't staff up because they couldn't tell anybody about the story, but like they couldn't get people that make this kind of game to work for them because they all thought they were working on like an Arcane style game and didn't want to work on that. I'm like, wow. Like, that's why they announced so early, apparently. It's what a mess.
Yeah. Cinetype says, what do you do if critically acclaimed games from Arcane keep not being financially viable? Look, we're not saying that like they should keep throwing the good money after the bad, because you're right, those immersive sims aren't exactly filling the coffers with money either. I think what we're seeing with Redfall is a studio or a brand in transition.
Yeah. Arcane's got to figure out a new idea.
It's got to figure out what it's going to be going forward, and this was just a very awkward transition of them trying to figure that part out. So... but another great article by Jason Schreier, all, great interviews with people who were there, great access.
Yeah, and it was an interesting thing. I was talking to some of my game dev friends, and to be fair, a lot of them work at much, much bigger companies. Than, we're talking about Ubisoft, EA things.
Yeah.
But some of them, because he was like 70% of the people, the Prey devs were gone by like, a certain point through development on Redfall. And some of my friends were like, that's just normal turnover. And it's like, yeah, it's normal turnover for a 400-person team.
Right.
It's apparently not normal turnover
for a 100-person team.
For 100, I mean, that's even less on it. It was more like 70 or 60.
What did you
or something.
expect?
It's like, that's a lot. Like, and that's a lot of talent walking out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, then you want that talent for not Redfall.
Yeah. And it was an interesting kind of political angle where it's like a bunch of people didn't want to move to Austin because they didn't want to live in Texas.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to live under Governor Abbott.
You force people to move someplace they don't want to move. They're not going to go because it's very easy for talented people to find jobs in other places. So
and a lot of them would let them work remotely.
Right.
So,
was Arcane not willing to do that?
It sounds like they wanted you to move to Austin.
Yeah.
But like there was a controversy about that on Twitter this week too, where like some couple like not top of the line producers and director and dev people were kind of saying like you can't make good games remotely, and all these people that made really good games remotely are like, no, we made no one on the Pentiment team ever saw each other in person, and we made that
and
just
it
fine.
came out great.
Like it was all these people that just like popping up. It's like, no, that just means you're bad at management.
Yeah,
we made this, we made that. It was like some really good games that were all done remotely.
Yeah, the problem is there are some people where if they don't have supervision, they will slack off.
Yeah,
like there are some people, Matt, that have direct supervision that slack off. Let's be honest. Like every company I've worked at,
But
there are people that you work with. You're like, how the F are you still employed?
But one of the advantages of remote working is you find out who those people are real fast.
You do. Yeah.
And a good manager is gonna cull that.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's a net positive. I mean, the main thing, a lot of the people that the higher level people that demand, people come into the office, just people that like to be in charge of people.
Honestly.
It's very hard to lord your status over someone else
when you can't
over a Zoom meeting.
It is. Because you're also exposed. You're in front of everybody else when you're there, so you have to mind your P's and Q's. You can't shirk back to being a piece of crap. So my guess is no Redfall 2.
Probably not.
Just going out on a limb here. I think maybe we're probably not going to get a sequel to Redfall, unfortunately. But I wish we had more reporting like this. It seems like Jason Schreier's always the person who has to do this. And really, Matt, I think the problem is that reporting like that doesn't really pay.
No.
Like, I'm sure Bloomberg is figuring this out now. They're like, we have probably the best investigative journalists in the games industry working for us. And, like, what are we... No offense to Jason Schreier or anyone who does this kind of work, but... It's like in the age of social media where everything just gets shared, and it's like Bloomberg is behind a paywall. Do you think anybody is going to pay to go past the paywall to read this?
Clearly not, because a couple days later they just made it free for people to read.
Yeah, it's a shame that there's no financial incentive for real journalism. I actually talked about this on Ask Shane Anything on last Friday. Somebody asked me about, some of the things that have happened and, like, is it worth it? Like Kotaku basically getting blacklisted by Nintendo for leaking the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom stuff that leaked. They're asking, like, should they have done that? Is it worth it? And, like, in a lot of cases, it's not in this industry. Like, real journalism doesn't pay in this industry. It hurts you. You can get blacklisted.
Real journalism doesn't pay anywhere.
It really doesn't.
For anything.
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants to pay for any of that stuff.
Yep. So, I don't know. I'm glad that Bloomberg is putting up the money for this to happen, but
yeah, I mean, it's a system that was built on the idea that the only way to read these articles is to buy a physical piece of paper back in the day, and that's not true anymore. And everyone just thinks everything online should be free.
Yep.
So I've subscribed to some things, LA Times and some other things, the things I read regularly, The Atlantic sometimes.
Well, sometimes you just want to support. It's like our patrons, It's like, you get our content earlier, and in fact, in our case, way earlier than most other patrons or Patreons. But still, ultimately, it does go free on YouTube, and the people who support us financially are the people who want to support us and make sure that we stay around. The people who can take it or leave it, they don't care. So... It's an interesting place we're in, and unfortunately, I feel like a lot of the outlets that do Survivor get the support. They don't get the support because they're great journalists or they do journalism well. They do it because they're charismatic and people like them. And that, to me, is the danger.
That, or they report things that people already agree with,
right? Or they say exactly what they're thinking, and they're confirming their biases daily. So, and we don't do that here on GameFace. Like, we call it how we see them, and I know that pisses some people off, as we saw when our episode 4 Tears of the Kingdom went up on YouTube.
Indeed.
So that's the way it is. Some people appreciate honesty and real journalism, and some people don't. And unfortunately, Matt, I think the vast majority of people do not.
No, probably not.
It's sad.
I mean, I certainly think Schreier's stuff is worth knowing.
Yeah. So anyway, Jason Schreier, tip of the cap, brother. Next up, we already mentioned this kind of Xbox's big showcase for 2023. It's not E3 press conference coming up here this weekend. And the good news is no CG trailers. It's going to be all in-engine footage for all their trailers. Now, I'm guessing, like, the Fable trailer is going to be like a gameplay trailer, meaning it's all in-engine footage just cut together to make it look very cinematic and fun. Like, I don't think we're going to get a big chunk of 10 minutes of Fable gameplay is what I'm getting.
He said either in-game footage, in-engine footage, or in-game mixed with cinematic.
Yeah.
So there will be if not first party, there might be third party stuff.
Yep. So it looks like we're going to get some legit stuff. I know we're going to get a huge chunk of Starfield played, for sure.
There'll be Starfield, there'll be Fable, there better be Forza.
No, that's a given, I would assume.
You would think, or my fantasy team is in a toilet.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, I mean, it really sounds from his tweeting that, like, they're ready to finally blow the doors off all their
first party
stuff they've been working on.
Thank God. Yes. That's what we've been waiting for.
Microsoft E3, a day late and $1 short. E3 doesn't even exist anymore, but here we are.
Well, they're finally delivering what they should be delivering at E3 now that E3 doesn't exist anymore. But it better late than never is the way I see it. Another smaller story from this week. Capcom has a survey out there right now asking fans for what are the next Resident Evil games that it should remake, because this has become
what's left
a cash cow for Capcom. And look, I'm not busting their balls because they're doing a great job on these remakes, but
and they're still putting new ones out alongside them. It's not like they've stopped the franchise to do this.
But there's really only one answer to this question, and it's Code Veronica.
No.
Really?
It's one.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people feel like it was already kind of remade.
Remake is garbage.
I know we know you hate it.
You need to get her over it. It's all pre-rendered shit, and they need to do it in the style of the new remakes. And then they should do Zero. And then maybe Code Veronica.
Why do you place Code Veronica?
Code Veronica is unnecessary to the story. It's kind of terrible.
It is not very... If you go back and play it now, it's not a good game.
You could make it like probably something better. You'd have to rework that substantially, both from a gameplay and story perspective, because there's just a lot of stuff in there that wouldn't fly anymore, both in terms of how the puzzles are designed and the whole like brother sister double identity incest trans thing.
I wonder how that would play now.
Like you'd need to run that sucker by some sensitivity readers, like in a big way. Like you're playing with fire on that one in the same way you'd be playing with fire with like Resident Evil 5 remake, where you're like, maybe it shouldn't all be African people you're killing in this thing. You know, it's like,
well, I mean, that was a big deal back when it came out.
Well, the other thing with Resident Evil 5 is like, hey, could you make it playable if I don't have a co-op partner? Because that sucked.
I think, Matt, the way I looked at it is that of the mainline Resident Evil games, Code Veronica is the worst. And so that's the one who needs remade. That's the one that needs remade the most.
No,
and
like
fixed.
Fuck that game. Like get to it if you get to it, but like you need to do 1, so 1 through 4 are all like pristine and ready to go in a modern version.
Yeah, like I mean, like you're probably right. That probably will be the one.
Story. 1 through 4 is basically a story. 1 through 4 is like a nice unit of Resident Evil. Do 0 if you get to it. Do Code Veronica if you get to it.
I never really liked Resident Evil 0.
Neither did I, but it's more a part of the story than Code Veronica is.
That's true.
And then,
but it's also kind of a splinter.
If you want to play 5 and 6, that's on you. Basically, I don't think those games really need a huge revamp.
Yeah, I mean they were made not that long ago.
No,
so.
I mean Resident Evil 5 does. I guess it was probably funny if you weren't me, but I do remember the first time I gave what was her name? Is Shiva? Is that her name?
From which game?
Your co-op partner in 5.
Yeah, Shiva.
And like you can give her stuff. And I remember I gave her, because I didn't want to carry. I'm like, okay, cool, extra inventory space. So I'll give her
a mule,
right? And so I gave her the submachine gun because I wasn't going to use that right because near the beginning of the game, and the bullets for it. And as soon as I unpause, she turns towards the zombie and just burns all the ammo out of it. And I was like, what? Hey!
That's hilarious.
So it was just like, okay. You don't get to carry the bullets.
That's a deal breaker.
Like, I did not need Ashley is about as far as I'll go with, like, micromanaging a partner in one of these games.
Yeah.
That was too far.
Yeah.
So if they did 5, I would like them to make the co-op system work, like, not even work, just like so I don't have to think about it so much. But like I think 1 is much more it should be the priority. I think 1 would benefit the most from it.
Chat's all over the place, literally like all over the place. Gun Survivor, 0 and Code Veronica.
Yeah, you're just off in weird.
RE1 and 0 is the right answer. I want Veronica.
Actually, the real answer is Dino Crisis. But like,
yeah. Yep.
That would be do a remake 1 and then do Dino Crisis.
Yeah.
Dino Crisis would be amazing to see now.
God of Gamblers 33 says that they were shooting Asians in RE5 as well.
All right, doesn't really change my point.
Yeah. It's a little off-putting the beginning of that game. I agree with that for sure. There were moments where I was like, "Oh, this doesn't feel right."
Right. And then you also say the same thing about the gameplay.
Yeah.
So nothing feels right here.
That's true. Next up, over the smaller stories this week.
And if you want to play Resident Evil 6, that's your problem.
Yeah. So. It was finally confirmed this week that Final Fantasy 16 is indeed going to get a PC version. And do you remember, Matt, the very first trailer for Final Fantasy 16, there was that little text along the bottom that said PC. And people freaked out. They're like, oh my God, it's coming to PC too. And Square Enix was like, not so fast. And now they are saying so fast. So Square Enix has officially shared that there is a PC version coming. However, the rub is that the PC version, they won't even start development on it until the PlayStation 5 version is done.
Yeah, this is a PS5 game for the foreseeable future.
Now, another thing they said, though, is they don't foresee any DLC or anything for Final Fantasy 16, Square Enix, which I'm kind of impressed with.
It's interesting.
Yeah. They're like, we're going to finish up this game, and it's going to be the game. And it's going to be definitive, and then we're going to move on to the PC version.
That's the Ivalice team. The Ivalice team does things up right.
Yep. So I am really excited for this game. It's coming in like less than a month.
I think this month
is a good month for games, man.
I think this one is going to be one of the... what we're talking about demos, and I think the demo's gonna help because the pre-orders on this are below Final Fantasy 15.
Really?
At this point.
Yeah. Wow.
So there's some concern about
interesting
because it looks so different. Like, to me that's a strength. Like,
yeah,
I think the fact that it
doesn't
look like some fucking 14-year-olds like afternoon anime crap.
I can't even explain what Final Fantasy was for like 4 entries. Like, what even was it? It was just this weird thing.
It was Nomura run amok, basically.
The costuming, everything about it was just so bizarre. Like,
I'm sorry if there aren't enough belt buckles in this one for you, but like
or oversized shoes.
Yeah, or like weird. I hate the.
There aren't enough belt buckles.
I mean, that's what everyone's just wearing belts everywhere. Whoever makes belt buckles, like the brass belt buckles in Nomura's Final Fantasy worlds must be the actual millionaires in those worlds, because that's the most in demand product. This looks great. I mean, I don't know how it's going. I'm skeptical about it playing sort of the way, because we haven't really seen the combat in a natural state, like the demo stuff.
It's all chopped together.
Because everything looks like damage sponges, but you can't really judge that because they might just be taking a lot of hits because they want the enemies to be alive while they do all the fancy stuff to demo it. I do think this is, in relation to what we talked about a little bit earlier, I do think the demo for this is going to help. I think especially if you can carry the save over. But I think the inevitable demo for this is going to be a big deal in terms of convincing people whether or not they want to buy it.
Well, it's interesting. Sneaky says, this doesn't look like Final Fantasy to me.
No, it doesn't.
But to me, it does.
Well, it looks like...
To him, it doesn't. Because he's younger.
It looks like what Final Fantasy would have been if...
What it should have turned into in 3D.
Because what happened was Final Fantasy VI was the last Final Fantasy that really looked something like this. I guess 12 did a little bit. But that was the same team. That was the Ivalice team. So Final Fantasy VI's team kind of split into two. And one side went on to continue to make Final Fantasy 7 and 8 and all that stuff. And the other side went and they did Final Fantasy Tactics and the Ivalice stuff and 14 and 11, I think. And all the so there's two different diverging things. And they did 12. And this is the first Final Fantasy that team has done since 12. Other than 14, which is hard. I know they're numbered, but I don't really count that as that's an online game. It's different. And again, I think most people, I haven't played much of it, but I think most people do seem to agree that Final Fantasy XIV's DLC is the best written Final Fantasy since 6. And to me, this looks like an alternate timeline version of where Final Fantasy never started to suck.
Yeah. I mean, to me, someone who grew up playing Final Fantasy, in 2D. Yeah. This is Final Fantasy to me.
Yeah, this looks
other weird crap that we've been dealing with for the last decade plus. That's not Final Fantasy to me.
I can't describe how happy I am that just watching all this footage, there's not a single instance of some weird floating drone thing that's made up of circles or something.
Hard fantasy. That's Final Fantasy to me.
All the Falsy crap from 13 and all that, all that design aesthetic, I don't
Final
like
Fantasy 10. 10-2, all that crap.
And you've got tech, you've got this kind of the steampunky, diesel-punky stuff. That's fine. I was in 6. That was fine. But yeah, to me, this is exactly what I would have preferred Final Fantasy to become aesthetically.
All along. Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for it. I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised when they finally get to play.
And if you don't like it, well, 7-2 is coming along.
Yeah, Rebirth is about to come out, and I'm sure it'll go right back to the corny-ass Final Fantasy that other people want.
You'll have all the anime grunts you need soon enough. Don't worry about it.
Next up. We got some more information on Marvel's Spider-Man 2, a couple little tidbits, and I know this is a highly anticipated game for a lot of you. The first little bit that we got is that another thing, Matt, that we get right. We get shit right all the freaking time. We'll watch a trailer, we'll be like, oh, that's why this happened. That's why they're doing this. Here's another case where we wondered how the character switching was going to work in Marvel Spider-Man 2, and we said, you know what? If you're in the open world, you're probably going to be able to switch whenever you want. If you're playing the campaign, the game is going to tell you when to switch, and that's exactly how it's going to work. If you're just out in the open world, just tooling around, you can swap between the two Spider-Men whenever you want to. If you're plowing through the main campaign, the game dictates when you switch from one character to the next.
But I will bet you that there's going to be a period where Peter falls so down to the symbiote costume that there's going to be an open world section where you can't switch to him.
Right. They're going to force you.
And that's going to feel bad because you're used to being able to switch to him. And that's how they're going to show in the gameplay way that Miles is alone and needs to solve this problem. Because I know how the bastards think. Also, that's just a good way to use them. But so I promise you, at some point, you're going to have Peter taken away from you, and it's going to feel bad.
Yeah.
Intentionally.
Yeah. Yep. And then another small thing that we learned about the game this week is that the open world, is double the size of the last game.
Also, how smart is that where you see the thing, he's got like the symbiote kind of thing, and it kind of how smart is it? Because you know what that is, right? That's how they're going to like basically incorporate the chosen costume you're wearing. So when the symbiote comes down in a cinematic and becomes sort of that armor-looking thing, and then smooths out. When it smooths out, it's going to become whatever costume you have Peter wearing.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, because the symbiote can simulate colors and fabrics.
Right. That's right. I forgot about that.
That's how you're still going to be able to customize his outfit, but still have him in the symbiote. So in the cutscene, he'll do all this stuff, and the black thing will come down like that, and it'll be all that bulky thing, and it'll go shh, and
it'll dissolve down.
It'll like morph into whatever you're wearing. It's so smart.
Yeah.
It's. I love seeing the little things in this where you're like, yep, Insomniac.
Yeah, the more I learn about this game,
Insomniac is five minutes ahead of everybody else.
Yep. Yeah, the more I see of this game, the more I learn about it, the more excited I become. Still don't have a hard release date, though, right?
No, just fall.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing November.
Yeah.
Adding Queens and Brooklyn makes a lot of sense. Like,
Well, if you're going to have Miles in there.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're both from Queens.
Oh, that's true.
And Brooklyn's where Captain America's from. So
right.
I mean, they're just right there. It makes a lot of sense. And that's also, I'm sure, why they've added the gliding ability and the slingshot abilities, because Queens is not nearly as vertical as Manhattan.
That's true.
So you're going to need a different way of traversing the area.
I mean, most of New York isn't as vertical as Manhattan. That's just the way it is.
And it's going to provide a very different sort of environment in a way. Like swinging through the canyons of the skyscrapers is very different, especially once you're used to how the web swinging works. So.
Yep.
That's all going to be very cool. It also explains why there's more stuff happening in the harbor and in the river, because you're going to have to get across them.
Yeah. They're going to be a part of the game instead of just being this border, basically, like they have been in prior Spider-Man games.
I will say, I think this is about as far as they can push New York. And I think, they might do it already in this one, I don't know, but I don't think so. At some point, they're going to need to go multiverse or time travel or something, like different versions of Manhattan. I mean,
there's still parts of New York that aren't in there.
There is a non-zero chance that's the Miles.
But who wants to go to Long Island?
Yeah, right. It's like,
nobody.
That's a.
Who wants to go to Coney Island?
Finally, Spider-Man 3, Jersey. I think there's a non-zero chance that the Miles Morales equivalent follow-up game for this is like a Spider-Verse thing, and like you get to go to like 2099 New York, and like
Miles is from Brooklyn, actually. Pharaoh Doll brings up. Yeah. Yep. That's why I said that they have to have it because it's his stomping grounds. Well,
they're all kind of on the same little island.
Yeah. They're very close to each other. You start getting to Staten Island, Long Island. That's where you start getting.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. It's like
it's a whole different world. I'll be honest with you. It's like
Long Island can get its own Spider-Man.
So anyway, very excited for Marvel Spider-Man 2. Hopefully we get a release date for that soon. Next up, another big announcement this week was the MetaQuest 3. And they dropped the price of MetaQuest 2 back down again. so MetaQuest 2,
fun while it lasted.
For like 4 or 5 months, they jacked the price up $100. They announced MetaQuest 3. They dropped the price back down $100. Like, what are they doing over there, Matt? It seems like they have no plan.
I think they just can think that the top level Quest should cost X much.
And so MetaQuest 3, $500. And so far they haven't announced different versions. They're also kind of cagey about announcing the specs for this thing. They did say that the $500 model will be 128 gigabytes. Is that the biggest MetaQuest 2 right now? 128?
I have no idea.
I'm not sure if they have a 256.
I don't pay attention to this at all.
Yeah.
I will never own a Quest. I will never bother with any of this. I don't care.
Well, Quest 2 at launch was $300. So this is going to be $200 more at launch than Quest 2 was. So they're bumping it up a lot. As I said, the specs that they provided are pretty light. All they said was that it will have the highest resolution of any MetaQuest headset so far, and that it will have something called pancake optics. Do you even know what that is?
No.
I'm guessing it's like a stack of some kind. Because maybe, pancakes, I don't know.
Or flat. I don't mean is it flat in the profile of
maybe?
It? I don't know.
I don't know.
I know the answer. Who cares?
Yeah, that's a phrase I've never heard before.
Yeah, I mean maybe that's what that was. That little exploded thing. I don't.
Maybe.
Or is it that where you can put the It's I don't know. You know what? We never have to know because I'm never gonna touch one of these things.
I mean, this is the one VR headset I've seriously thought about buying a couple different times because it's unwired, it's untethered, and
oh sure, but like I'm gonna need to see some actual games. I mean,
we're gonna get to that though,
right? But like,
so it's 40% slimmer than Quest 2. It has true touch haptics in the controllers. The resolution they said so far, at least this what they believe is leaked out, is 4128 by 2208, which is a 30% increase. 120 hertz refresh rate in each eye, and then each of the screens inside the HMD are UOLED. I've never even heard that before. Do you know what that is?
Probably Ultra.
Maybe. I don't know. But again, it's coming this fall for $500, and they haven't announced anything about the other models, if there'll be a cheaper one, if there'll be a more expensive one. They did say that they're working on 2 other HMDs at the same time, and my guess is those are going to be the higher-end, even more expensive models than the Quest 2. But here we are. I feel like the unique selling proposition maybe has disappeared because it was a $300 VR headset that was pretty damn good. That, to me, was what sold the Quest 2. Now it's a $500 VR HMD that's pretty damn good. Like, that's untethered.
Well, everything's more expensive now.
Yeah, you're right. Everything is more expensive.
Just think of it as made of eggs.
Yeah. Well, now it's so funny that how the news is now reporting that the grocery stores have been gouging us and like charging us more money when they didn't need. Like, I figured that out like 2 years ago. Like, hello, that was obvious like forever ago. So they're I mean,
but the free market.
When when people say things are just more expensive now, I don't believe that anymore. Like, I believe that they're gouging us, and they're like, "Oh, we could try to use inflation."
All you need to do is look at the housing market to understand that.
Yeah.
So anyway, rents around here, Jesus Christ.
Yep. So anyway, Matt's concern was with games for this new HMD, and one thing I'll say, Matt, is I think they actually delivered on this. They showed like 12 brand new games, and for the first time, maybe ever, Matt, I felt like we're starting to see games for VR that are real games. This is Asgard's Wrath 2. This game looks like a legit... And look, it's a God of War clone or whatever, with a little bit of...
I was going to say, if you want 2 human in a desert, I guess we're kind of ready here.
But we're finally starting to see some VR games that are legitimate games, and they showed like 10 or 12 other ones. I was pretty impressed with the software that they showed for this, to be perfectly honest. And I don't know if I've ever said that about any VR HMD. So it does appear that the software market for VR is starting to turn the corner maybe a little bit. I don't know. Ultimately, the proof will be in the pudding when we get to play these or not. But as far as like these press events for VR HMDs go, this was the first one that I watched where I was like, okay, like finally the games are starting to get to a point where I'm like, that's kind of interesting. I might actually want to try to play that or give it a go. Without it being like, here's Resident Evil with a VR mode. Like, an original game made just for VR that's piquing my interest. That finally kind of happened with this. So, will I buy it? Probably not. I still have the motion sickness problem that I don't know if will ever be cured. I just think it's just something that I can't handle.
I have an apathy problem that will probably never be cured.
That's true.
Not for that kind of money.
Yeah. $500, that's a lot.
You got to have it tied into your Facebook account still?
I don't know,
Did
actually.
they change that?
I think they changed that already for Quest 2, if I remember correctly. Because that whole metaverse thing has just crumbled. Like, Facebook or Meta has laid off, like, the entire staff that was working on all that stuff. Like, there was, like, 1,000 people in the metaverse, like, at peak or whatever.
I know a couple of people who've lost their job from that. I'm like, you were working at Meta? Like, I had no idea. Like, it was like... It was certainly a thing. It
was a dream, that's for sure, that never came to fruition. Notice, by the way, we're going to talk about the Apple headset later on as its own big topic, but notice there was no mention of metaverse in that entire thing.
No.
Not one time.
Or legs.
That's true. Yeah. Let's see what else we got here before we get into the bulk of the show. Oh, another thing, too, is that, do you remember that Meta was like working with Rockstar and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas for Meta?
Yeah, I remember that.
They didn't say a word about it.
It seems to be going
It's
away.
vaporware, it appears.
Well, it was probably tied to the definitive editions, and nobody wants to touch that anymore.
Yep.
So
yeah, maybe right. They sold like crazy. So anyway,
yeah, but you don't hear anyone talk about them.
Yeah, no sign of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas for Quest at that big event. So my guess is, as Matt alluded to, is probably canned and not coming. Yuji Naka, our good pal Yuji Naka. Yeah. He finally got sentenced and he was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison, Matt, for insider trading. They don't know yet whether he's actually going to serve all that time, but 30 months was his sentence.
Man. You'd think he was dealing marijuana or something.
In Japan, I mean, that's a real sentence. Oh, you go to prison for like the rest of your life for having weed in Japan. So yeah, this is going to be his lasting legacy here. Balan Wonderworld or Wonderland. I still can't remember to this day.
It's a world.
It's a world.
Your body is a wonderland. Yeah. Balan is a wonder world.
Yeah. So this is going to be his enduring legacy here. Is this god awful game?
The frame rate stutters every time the cutscene changes camera angle. Yes.
I shouldn't be laughing. Anyone going to prison or jail for 30 months,
oh, come on. That's an unforced error and a half.
It is.
Right there.
It is still. Going to prison for 30 months sucks, but he earned it. Because as it turns out, it wasn't just like a one-off instance.
No, there was a whole network going on here.
Yeah, there was... What did he think he was doing, Matt?
Like, to the point that you're like, did you make Balan Wonderworld just so you could keep your fucking contacts hot on
Maybe.
That? Like,
so you could keep the grift going with the insider trading. So you have it connected still. Because you're like, you know what? I don't really care how bad this game is. As long as I'm working with the people... I'm
still making money through this other thing. Allegedly.
Yeah.
And like
it's not alleged anymore. He's been convicted.
Well, this part of the scheme is just us making shit up. But like
yeah. But
it would make more sense than thinking this was a good thing to do on its own.
Yep. I can't say.
Like I'd love to. I want there to be an ulterior motive for this game's existence, frankly, because I would respect it more.
Yeah. Rock and Roll 458 said that they changed it for Quest. No Facebook account needed, but you need a Meta account, which is the same damn thing, basically.
Yeah, it's just more accounts.
And more shady bullcrap from more
more compartmentalized places that store my credit card.
Yep.
That's great.
Shocker. And then the final smaller story from this week is something I wanted to bounce off of you to see if you think is a good idea. Rumors are swirling that a Psychonauts 3 is on the way. And if you watch GameFace, you know that Matt and I both loved Psychonauts 2. Like, borderline Game of the Year candidate for me. I did some research. It appears, and people forget, that this game was multi-platform. Even though Xbox owned Double Fine at the point,
it still came out.
It still came out for everything.
Because it was a Fig thing and all that?
Yeah, it was crowdfunded.
Yeah.
And it ultimately sold 1.7 million units across all platforms, which isn't terrible. And in fact, it is Double Fine's best-selling game ever, Matt. Can you believe that?
Yeah. I mean, I played their games. They're all very good, but they're very niche.
They are, they're a little odd. And this game's odd. Let's be honest.
Very odd.
This franchise is very odd.
Tim Schafer has always done odd.
Yeah, which is why I love him. But it sold 1.7
it's like
million.
A Tim Burton thing. Well, maybe it's Tim's. What's it with Tim's?
Yeah, what is it with Tim's? 1.7 million sold. Not terrible, but not great.
Yeah, pretty good for Psychonauts, for a game a sequel to a game that very few people outside of the core demographic have heard of.
But Matt, you also have to remember that game was in development for like 6 or 7 years.
Oh yeah, but also they're owned by Microsoft now, and it doesn't matter.
So that becomes the question. So on its own, it sold 1.7 million. This property was available for other platforms. Would Microsoft take it away from those other platforms and make it a Game Pass exclusive?
Yeah, I would think so.
Because if no one's going to push back on it?
Well, you couldn't do that with Psychonauts 2 because it was crowdfunded and it was still, people wanted it on other platform. It was like you were stuck with that.
I'm thinking along the lines of Call of Duty, where that's the line that Microsoft is drawing. It's been available on other platforms.
The only line that Microsoft is drawing there is because Call of Duty was a point of contention for the completion of the sale.
Right.
Like, they're going to keep everything on their platform if they can.
And here's my other question, though.
And is anyone outside of their platform going to notice?
Yeah.
As long as it's on PC, I think you're fine.
Yeah, a game that sells 1.7 million versus one that sells 20-some million.
Yeah.
Big difference there. My question, though, is it worth... I mean, if it takes... Let's say it only takes 4 years to make the next one. Is it worth it? Like, do you greenlight that? If you're Phil Spencer, do you greenlight that project?
I do.
You do?
Because I want to play it.
Are you being selfish? I mean,
I don't care.
Let's imagine that you're not being selfish and you're running a business that needs to turn a profit.
What else did you buy Double Fine for? Except like weird niche
Tim's
shit.
Crazy Stuff. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
But Tim's Crazy Stuff usually takes a year or two to make, not 7.
Yeah, well, now they got more resources and they got more support. So I think you can do a Psychonauts 3 in less time than it took them to do Psychonauts 2.
I agree. That's why I said 4 years instead of 7. Is it worth working on something 4 years to put it on Game Pass?
Well, you'd have to basically figure that out and be like, okay, can you do this in a reasonable amount of time? Can you do this in 3 years? Maybe?
Yeah.
I don't think
that would make more sense.
I don't think there's any reason you wouldn't be able to.
Yeah. I mean, if you had a full team, you should be able to make this game in 3 years easy.
full team, support of the other Microsoft devs. You got a whole infrastructure there, hopefully.
And for the record, I want Psychonauts 3. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't want it. Like, I want it bad.
And they're starting to kind of push. There's a new version, or something new happened with Stacked of all things, which I love. I like that game a lot. I remember he was in the office once shortly after that came out. And I was like, yeah, my girlfriend loves Stacked. We've been playing Stacked, and we really like it. And he goes, well, thank you for being the two people who like that game.
He's a great dude, man. I loved him.
He's very self-effacing about how niche some of that stuff is.
Digital Reflux says F Game Pass. I want Psychonauts 3. I hear you. Selfishly, I want it too. We're just asking the questions of whether
I think he means like he doesn't have Game Pass. He wants it on another platform.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I think that would not. I think this would be a Xbox PC game. I think anything that they don't think they're going to have to talk to the FTC about is going to end up on their exclusive.
And it should be.
Yeah, that's how that works.
It should be. I hate to break it to you, Digital Reflux, but that's the way it should be. Microsoft paid for this studio. It's absurd to assume that they would release multi-platform games going forward.
Yeah, the Psychonauts 2 stayed that way purely because I'm sure there were contracts in place because of the crowdfunding that you just could not get out of.
And truth be told, they ended up probably turning a profit on it because it was multi-platform. So it all worked out in the end, I think. But I hope we get a Psychonauts 3.
Are those sales numbers including whoever got it from being backing?
I don't know.
I would think not.
Probably not. But that number is probably not that big.
I mean, they had like almost 1 million backers.
Really?
I think so.
Really?
It was a big thing.
Then my guess it probably does include it then.
I'd have to look it up.
That's a lot of backers. Holy moly.
Well, that's not a purchase, though. It's an investment.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would include that. I mean, I'll remember that it's been cheap for a while, too. I mean, all those units sold is not necessarily full price.
That's true. Yeah. But Psychonauts 2 is an amazing game. If you haven't played it yet, go play it. What are you waiting for? As Matt just mentioned, it's discounted at this point. You can get it for cheap, and it's definitely a Game of the Year worthy game. So they did great work. It took them a long time to do it.
That was 24,000.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'm like, man, 1 million, that's a lot of backers.
That's not too many.
Because you figure if you're 1 million and even if it puts in $5, that's a lot of money invested in a game to be developed. So, hopefully we get Psychonauts 3 regardless of how it happens. I just wanted to ask those questions out of curiosity for the financial viability of it, because this is still an X factor with Game Pass. Like, how do you even quantify like whether it's worth working on a game for 3 years or 5 years just to put it on Game Pass? Like, how do you even know, like, if it goes, you release it and you add 100,000 subscribers? Is that, I don't know.
It's not our problem. It's not our problem.
It's not our problem. We just want to play great games. That's what it all comes down to when it's all said and done. Okay, before we get into the bulk of the show, let's hit into chat. We've already been keeping an eye on you guys here for a while, but I want to go back and thank people who gave us Twitch Prime throughout this process here of the early parts of the show, because we need it very badly, and I appreciate it very much, the people that are doing it. Rosencrantz, thank you for subscribing at Tier 1. For some reason, I can't go all the way up to the top again, which sucks. So we missed some people who subscribed at the beginning of the show, unfortunately. We missed everybody who subscribed at the beginning of the show.
It doesn't really... I got Cinetyke, One Super Master Gamer, R Diana 21, EDH 420, Toast 9, Rosencrantz.
A lot.
It doesn't show me quite as obviously as it shows it to you.
Well, here's a round of applause for all you folks. I really, really appreciate it. I don't know why y'all have stopped doing it.
Bogdan SB.
It's like when I put together the crawl for Pactor Factor, like I see all you guys. I see how many times you've done it. Some of you guys are like over 100 at this point. But I can see your streaks. And like we have people who used to do it, had streaks running for like 20, 30 months. Almost all of our long-time people who have been doing this are like just at one. Like there's no streaks going anymore. So I don't know why y'all stopped doing it, but we really need you guys to do it. Like it's not even like a bonus. It's like I need it to break even on what we're doing here. So if you guys could maybe start setting those alerts again in your phones or whatever you were doing before to make sure you were doing it, I'd really, really appreciate it. We really, really need that money. And thanks to everybody who has continued to do it, because there are some of you guys still who are on like 40-week streaks or 50-week streaks. Y'all are awesome. Here's some more. Bogdan SB, thank you for Twitch Prime. Some people getting in here late. Lesteved dropping all the tier 1 subs. Thank you. Obviously, you guys know Lesteved is also the genius behind LS Cream. And actually, we have a little bit of a change to our LS Cream sponsorship. We have a brand new URL that you guys need to follow going forward if you want to help support Sifted with our sponsorship. Before that, here's our ad. LS Cream is a fine cream liqueur created by fellow gamer and sifter Stevens Charles. It's inspired by an ancestral recipe from Haiti called Cray Mass, and a double gold winner for its original taste at the New York Wine and Spirit International Competition. LS Cream can be enjoyed on the rocks or as a mixer for drinks with its rich blend of fresh cream and neutral grain spirits with notes of coconut, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg. It's great in coffee or to make espresso martinis. To learn more, discover amazing drink recipes, or to track down your own bottle using a handy store locator, head to creamls.com. That's creamls.com. Okay, so as I said, there's a new URL that you guys should go to when you want to check out creamls.com. Use creamls.com/sifted. That way, Lesteved can track the people that are going to the website just from Sifted, so we can have an idea how the sales are working. Now, I'll say this. We get a lot of messages on YouTube, on the archives, of people saying, oh, I went and bought LS Cream because of your sponsorship. May be hard to get people to convert over to that stuff, but we'll see. That's something that they requested, and we're going to oblige. So head to creamls.com/sifted. There's tons of awesome stuff there. There's drink recipes, so you can make the awesome drinks that you just saw in the ad. There's the history of the drink. Lesteved has an awesome history. This is a family recipe, which my family recipe is like pasta sauce. Like, how awesome is it that their family recipe is liquor? You have an awesome family, Lesteved. So anyway, head on over there. There's a store locator so you can figure out where you can buy it locally. There's Bevmo links so you can order it online. And most importantly, it's just an awesome liqueur. If you ever drink Bailey's Irish Cream, stop drinking Bailey's and start drinking LS Cream. And with that, it's time for us to kick off GameFace 345 proper, and we have a banger of a show for you guys today. We have two gigantic games we're going to talk about on today's show. First up is Street Fighter 6. As we said at the open of the show, my hand right now is still sore. When I walked in today, you said that your thumb was still hurting, and you had not played the game today.
Yep.
It is, it's been awesome.
Workout.
I haven't been this into a fighting game in a really long time. I think the last one was probably Mortal Kombat 12, I think.
I mean, I played 4 a lot, and played Mortal Kombat 9 a lot, because it was like kind of the reboot, and I played with some people. The problem with the fighting game thing is either I'm in the local scene, or I'm not playing it with other people because nobody wants to play it with me.
Yeah.
I'm too good for like the casual people, but I'm not good enough to hold my own against the pros. So I'm kind of in
no
this
man's
weird.
land.
I'm in this weird middle ground. I went to a party shortly after the original Mortal Kombat 9 came out, and people were playing it, and so I sat down to play, and I was just wrecking everyone. And finally, somebody just turns to me and goes, You know this isn't fun for us, right?
Yeah, you're like, ruining our time.
I'll go do something else.
That's hilarious. So a lot of us already played the beta because they gave us like 3 betas for Street Fighter 6. Mm-hmm. And it's not quite to the extent of Diablo 4 where I'd played like 30 hours of it. But I played
luckily a match is its own thing.
That's true. So. And this is a different type of game, and there's a bunch of different modes and things like that. So it is different, but we all had kind of spent a good chunk of time playing Street Fighter 6 before it even came out on Friday. And we even got to really sample almost all the modes. So the first one was the World Tour, which is like the single-player campaign. And then they just put up like the battle arena stuff, and you can just go in and fight head-to-head against people. And I jumped in on all of those and played all of those. Now we've had a chance to go through and spend a ton of time with the World Tour mode, which is the campaign mode. And the first thing I would say is I hated on it a lot when we talked about the beta because it's just really corny and cheesy and weird. And once I started diving into this more, I liked it more. I could appreciate it more. But then I kind of hit the zenith with that. And then I got like 6 or 7 hours into it, and I was like, I wasn't really enjoying it all that much anymore. It's been a weird, like, sine wave for me of playing the World Tour. At first I hated it, then I liked it, and now I don't really hate it anymore. It just failed to hold my interest after a little bit. What was your kind of take on it, Matt?
I like it. I mean, it's silly. It's definitely silly, but it's like silly in the way that Street Fighter has always been silly.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you used to beat up cars, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, you still do.
You still do.
There's a lot of demolition in this game.
Yeah.
And I still enjoy it. It's silly. It doesn't take itself very seriously. It thankfully lightens up on the cutscenes after the kind of introductory stuff. Like early on, you're like, oh my god, Luke's talking so much. Like, how am I going to get through? And eventually, like, it's just like, every time you meet one of the main characters, you have like a little cutscene introduction where you become their student, and then you don't really need to worry about it anymore.
And then you can start bringing in their moves and their abilities and adding them to your character, which is something we didn't really get to touch on that much in the beta.
Yeah, one of the big things, because you don't advance that much, you don't get any more, masters, basically. But one of the things that's really interesting about this is not just that you can switch, as you get a different character's as a master, you can switch to their style, so you basically get their base move set. So right now, obviously, you're playing Chun-Li, which was also... I played Chun-Li for a long time until I got Ken's and Ryu's and switched over that. I will eventually switch to Guile's, but I have not gotten to Guile yet. But what you get their, like, some of their basic special moves, so you can plug in anybody's special moves into your character no matter whose style you're using.
Yep.
So like right now, I'm using Ryu's style and his fireball and his super, like his level 1 super, but I'm using Chun-Li's level 2 super and her spinning bird kick, which thankfully, 5 did this. There was a period in Street Fighter where spinning bird kick was useless because it didn't knock down.
Yeah.
So you did the spinning bird kick, and even if you landed it, it was just a free hit for your opponent.
Yeah.
So now it's much more useful. And I've got I have also, in addition to Ryu's fireball, I have DJ's fireball, the air slash, which is phenomenal. Now air slash, you do it with light, it's a fake out. You do it with medium, it's the normal air slash. You do it with hard, it's a double slash, which screws the AI up and people up pretty much. And then I got the Shoryuken and like a couple other things. So you can and like aerial 100 leg kick from Chun-Li. So like you can create basically, you can put a move on every. So basically, as each move for each like controller motion, you can just pick something as long as you have it in your roster. So you can just sort of build this crazy character. And then when you go into Battle Hub, you can use that character. You go in the middle of the Battle Hub and just like challenge all comers, and you just fight your avatars against each other, and it's just good stupid fun because like everything's all fucked up.
Yeah, there's no like, balancing. Like you don't.
The
fight
avatar
people.
balances makes no sense. But it's just like, let's see what weird shit we've done. And you don't know what the hell you're gonna get, and everybody's wearing like construction hats.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was what the Battle Hub was gonna do the first time, so I went in and I was wearing like this like kung fu muumuu and like flip flops and a construction hat.
Yeah,
and glasses, and everyone else is just standing around in sweatpants and bare chested. And I'm like, oh, I'm
at the wrong party.
I didn't get the memo for this one.
That's like you see the fantasy football commercials when the season's about to kick off, and the dude shows up at the door wearing like some scantily clad outfit, and he's like, "Oh, it's a different fantasy party."
Yeah.
What's
put on my robe and wizard hat. Like,
what's really shocked me about the World Tour mode is how big it is.
Oh, it's huge.
Not even just like the mode, it's like the world is gigantic. Like you can get on a plane and fly to these other countries, and now granted, when you get there, most of the time it's just like a small area, whatever.
You're basically walking around the stage from like the fighting game stage. And if you walk too far towards the camera, you leave.
Yeah. But then Metro City is like
Metro
big.
City's real big, and there's another city that's decent sized.
Yeah, and there's like it's so big that like there's fast travel, there's a bus system, there's a day and night cycle. Like you can go to this one room and like change it from day to night, and certain things only happen at night and only happen during the day. Like holy crap, man!
There's a subway system. The subway system basically puts you in a little final fight mini.
Yeah,
you have to
where you have to survive on the train.
Yeah, you have to beat up all the gang members on the whole train before or wait like 4 minutes.
4 hours it seems like.
But it's like it's
I can't believe how much work they put into this.
Yeah,
because it really is absurd.
Yeah, well, it's the first time that like they've really done anything that competes with Mortal Kombat story mode. Yeah, and it's not as good, obviously, because Mortal Kombat story mode is more focused on the actual narrative, and it's done by actual like. A lot of the same people that do the DC animated direct-to-DVD, direct-to-video stuff write and produce a lot of the Mortal Kombat cutscenes.
It shows. Yeah.
So which is not very good. But in terms of like actual stuff to do, this is comparable.
It's really insane.
And it's not, it's no dumber than like running around the graveyard, like unlocking stuff for combat points or whatever, except imagine if the whole story mode was like that dumb, Now, I think it's rather charming. I enjoy it.
I enjoyed it for a while, and then it wore out.
I still like it, and I like how it slowly, if you're a new player or haven't played in forever, it slowly introduces you to each of the different characters and lets you try out different moves and like all that. And then it's also friendly in the sense that if you go to the right side, there's the training. And then there's advanced training, and then there's introductions to every character, and then there's combo trials for every character, and the combo trials are way better than they've ever been.
The training in this is amazing.
Street Fighter's combo trials used to be just stupid human trick. Like I remember trying to get some of those done in 4, and Seth Killian just told me, he's like, don't waste your time. He's like, those are all just like, none of those are things you're going to use in an actual fight. They're just things you can do that the devs knew you could do. But certainly at least the basic and intermediate stuff on the combo trials on this, they're all stuff you can use in actual matches off the bat.
Absolutely.
They're going to teach you really good stuff.
The training in this is amazing.
It's very well
no
done.
Matter how, you and I have been playing Street Fighter for 30 years, over 30 years. But if you've never played it, the training in this is awesome.
This is without any exception, by a light year, the most complete fighting game Capcom has ever made.
Oh yeah, for sure. Not even close.
It's shocking to me that Capcom made this.
Yeah.
It is so far beyond anything because they have half-assed everything except the actual gameplay these are the people that use Morgan's sprite for 11 years.
Yeah.
It's
and this mode just keeps going on.
Goes and goes and goes.
And
it still has I did a side quest where I had there was a whole little movie cutscene where all these guys were doing Russian ballet, and then it turned into a judo match, and I'm like, that was all animated. They animated all that.
I know. I think about it. Playing this mode, I think about it all the time. I'm like, who was the person that had to do this? Who was the person that had to do that? Dude, I hate Blanca in this game, by the way.
Blanca reminds me of someone we both know.
He's the one I know who you're talking about. He's the one character that I feel like they did a terrible job on for this game.
They never know what to do with Blanca.
I don't know why.
And the other thing, this is a conspiracy theory, obviously, but Blanca was Ono's favorite character, and I feel they're fucking with him a little bit by doing what they did.
I never thought of that. You may be right. But I do they provide so much more context for a lot of these characters that you and I have been following for decades.
And all you need to know
I'm finally getting to know them.
And it's also it doesn't matter if you know anything about the previous quote unquote stories of the Street Fighter. All you need to know is that all these guys that you recognize have been doing this forever, and they all know each other.
Yeah.
And that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah.
And then the new characters are all introduced a little more carefully. Here's your Akira slide for the game.
Yep. I had to make sure that was in the B-roll.
Yeah, here's Juri.
This shot right here is awesome too.
Yeah, Juri is a lot of fun. She's definitely the best new character in Street Fighter since probably Super Turbo.
Yeah, she's around to stay for sure.
She's definitely she fits right in.
Yep.
All the new characters in this are good.
Except JP.
JP doesn't fit, but he's a good character.
He is, but he's.
I haven't got my head around how he plays yet, but
I've actually been trying to play him a good bit, but he doesn't fit inside Street Fighter. He's a King of Fighters character. Yeah,
he looks like King, but he's also Shadaloo, some kind of Shadaloo guy we've never heard of before, and even Guile's what the hell is that? He's like, where did he come from?
And the thing is, with the way this game is set up, you learn about these characters in the World Tour mode. But you can also go to the more generic old school story mode for Street Fighter.
The arcade mode has story, and it's specific to each character.
It's like animated stills.
Little animated comic stories. And it's all prequel to the World Tour. It basically sets up World Tour.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool.
This is the battle hub you're seeing here, which I think is a really cool idea in concept, but ultimately, to me, it became redundant. So you can go.
I think we got to wait until they start doing the tournament events in this before we really kind of judge it, because right now it just feels like matchmaking with extra steps. Because they're trying to simulate an arcade. If you sit down at that, someone else has to sit down at that machine to play against you.
Yep.
And then there's
and luckily for me, this guy does right away. He's like, oh, there's somebody.
Yeah, I have not had a problem. It does. There's a little map that actually shows you who doesn't have a partner, and you can go play right then. So it's basically like playing an actual arcade. So they're trying to replicate the arcade experience. There's a place for people to play finals matches and a tournament bracket screen. So theoretically, you'd all be standing around watching people spectating. So it kind of feel like a tournament.
Yeah. But ultimately, you can go to a menu system where you just select, and it's way faster to match make, and like, so
Right.
I did this like once to just try it out, and I had used it in the beta a little bit too, but I just go to the menus and just set up casual or ranked, and then like literally in that option, as soon as you finish a match, you get another match almost too fast. Like if you decide you don't want to fight again, sometimes you match up with somebody so quickly you're jumped into another match.
Yeah, no, the online works real well. I mean, to me, this is a different experience from playing with the arcade mode. But I don't remember what the name of the
I don't either.
fight zone or the right side.
It's the right side of the menu. Yeah.
That's like if you're just going to jump in. I will say that they've streamlined this as much as they can for how the Battle Hub functions. Like you have to pick a character as part of your profile, and that's the character you will be when you play a game.
You can
which I didn't know.
Change it.
You can change it, but you have to commit to that character for as long as you're sitting down until you can come out of it and change your character that way. So there is no character select screen. There's no stage select screen. So that streamlines it because you just jump right into the match.
Yeah.
So nobody needs to pick a character. Nobody needs to pick a control scheme.
Before we go forward, what do you think this is, Matt?
What?
I'm going to rewind this real quick here. There's this weird pause. Watch. So he uppercuts me here in a second, and then JP pauses in midair while his cape is still moving.
Oh, that's just lag.
That's lag?
Yeah.
With the cape still moving?
Yeah, because that's some kind of rollback thing, I think.
Interesting.
It's using that moment where no one has any control to sort of catch things up.
Gotcha.
I think that's what's
interesting.
happening
Yeah, I noticed that's the only time it ever happened.
It's very smart. I played both wired and with Wi-Fi, and I didn't notice a huge difference. All the I've played a number of matches, both in the ranked casual match and in the Battle Hub. And
Fighting Ground is what it's called.
Fighting Ground. They all have been fine, like really good.
But you can see here online over to the right, it just completely eliminates all the nonsense from the Battle Hub. It's just a menu that you can select and match up with people.
Right, but like the Battle Hub, the experience of the Battle Hub is a different thing.
Yeah, it'll be for tournaments, and it also is the one place where you can fight with your avatars as well.
Right, you can play with your avatars, you can kind of hang out and like talk to people, and like you can add people to friends lists and then play them in this mode too.
Yep.
There's retro games there, so like yesterday, and they change every day. So yesterday they had Son, Final Fight, and Street Fighter 2, the original Street Fighter 2.
That's
you can sit down and play, and you can play either unlimited or you can play one quarter and compete for a high score. I had the 214th highest score on Street Fighter 2 for the day.
That's good. That's impressive.
You forget how much you can kill someone in 3 hits in that.
Oh yeah,
like,
yep.
Guile is unbeatable in that. So that changes like every day or two, which is cool. And there's a bunch of different. Well, I think they have like 12 different games they rotate through. You can go on one. There's one little extra stage where you can play the extreme battle with people, which is like where they just are throwing like environmental. It's almost like what Mortal Kombat does, where they're throwing environmental things in, and like you can like bulls charge through the stage. And you have to jump over them and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Like there's a lot of, and you can go up. You can actually play. You can DJ. You can go up top and play music.
It doesn't work very well, but you can do it.
There's like a selfie area.
Yeah.
You can buy exclusive things for the avatar and like things like
Point
there's a lot of
being,
stuff
there's
in there.
just so much crap in this game. It really is insane.
Like in almost any other Capcom fighting game, the Fighting Ground would be the whole game.
Right. Yeah.
Like, so you've got a complete Street Fighter game on the right side and then 2 whole other things.
Things that you could fill your time
like
with.
This game feels like this game is on the level of like what Street Fighter V was 2 years after release.
Yeah.
Like they took the lessons of Street Fighter V and ran with them.
I do wonder what Ono-san, what he's feeling right now.
I don't care.
Seeing the,
they made a great. This is one of the best fighting games I've ever played.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and he wasn't there, so I'm wondering if he's like, "Damn,
Damn,
I leave."
Yeah.
And
I mean, there was all that concern. Like, I don't know what's going to look. Well, it turns out it's going to look pretty fucking good.
Yeah,
because they nailed this.
This is the arcade mode stuff here we were talking about, where they have like the comic book stills and. They're like prequel stuff, gives you backstory on some of the characters.
Yeah, and these are pretty fun. And like it's great because like you can do 5-match arcade mode or 12-match.
Yeah.
So 12-match is obviously more like traditional arcade length.
Yep.
And you get more bonus stages in it.
Yeah.
But if you just want to see the story and get through stuff, you don't like a character very much, play 5 matches, you're done. You get their art, you get their story mode, you're good, you're cool.
Yeah.
It's so smart. So much of it is so smart.
Yeah.
That's not even getting to the actual fighting.
Right, yeah. And I think probably my big hang-up with this game is that I don't really enjoy the World Tour all that much, and it is the primary single player. Granted, you're right, it's way better than anything that's ever been in Street Fighter, but also to your point, comparing it to the stuff that NetherRealm's been doing, it falls pretty short.
Well, I don't think it falls particularly short in terms of what it's... I mean, here's the thing. I keep thinking about it as like, you know what? I mean, obviously a little less goofy, but that's what Shenmue should have become.
Probably. It tried to be serious.
It's taking a lot of cues from Yakuza, of all things.
It does. This game reminds me a lot of Yakuza.
Yeah, it's goofy. It's like if I think I said that before. It's like if the goofiest Yakuza side quests were the whole game.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that, because to me, World Tour, while it is obviously a lot of time, it's a time sink. Like I'm level 36 or 37 or something.
Yeah, I don't even remember what level
I've been playing a lot.
I'm like high 20s, I think.
But like
something like that.
It slows down a lot after a certain point. But and you can tell because I'm like almost to the top of the final skill tree or something, somewhere in there. But like.
Well, I mean, I've already filled out my skill tree.
Oh no, there's 5 of them.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
oh.
you unlock more.
I didn't realize that.
Them out. Yeah.
Interesting.
That might be why you're having trouble getting away from the random bad guys, because you can get skills that make the lower level guys not try to fight.
Oh, because that's one thing. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up that I haven't mentioned yet. Is in the World Tour mode, you have to run around these streets, and normally it's not a big deal. The streets are really wide, and there are enemies. The dudes with the boxes on their heads. They're just thrown into the open world to fight you, basically. And if you come across them, they run up to you and start the fight, or you can initiate it yourself.
The point is, only trust your fists. Police will never help you.
Yeah. And
they won't. They stand around and won't let you go to the other side of the fucking map, but they just watch a guy with a cardboard box on their head attack a little girl, and nobody fucking cares.
The problem is when you get into the alleyways, they're really narrow, and it's really hard to get away from the dudes with the boxes on their heads. And like, I'll fight them and I'll kill them all, and then I'll turn around and I'll watch them repopulate. They'll jump down from the roofs of the buildings and jump back down into the alley. And I'm like,
they've jumped in real fast.
Yeah, like they repopulate, and it gets annoying after a while. I'm like, I don't want to fight these guys anymore. Like, just leave me alone.
Yeah, I just haven't had that. I just sprint past them, and they never catch me.
I probably get past them maybe half of the time. And then and I'll come around a corner, and there's one just standing right there, and they just swerve right into me, and off we go into another freaking fight. And the fights,
mine are way dumber than yours.
Really?
I mean, if like the level 30 plus ones are pretty fast, and they can catch me sometimes. But like anything like below my level, like I fight them unless I only fight them if I want to. Basically.
Well, the other problem too is that like they're generally pushovers. Like they're so easy to beat.
Right, they're a waste of time.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't want to fight you. I just spam the same move over and over. I don't care about fighting them like intelligently.
I'm too busy hitting the triangle button to see what all the civilians are going to give me if I beat them in weird ways. And then like, you give me like weird juice. Great, we're going to take that.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is that like the levels for the World Tour mode are like spaghetti. Like they're a little Metroid-like. Like there's ladders that you find all these secret areas that you drop down into, and then
treasure chests everywhere.
Yeah, sometimes you end up getting in places that you don't belong, and there's like some dude that you got to fight that's like level like 50, and you're like level 25, and he just whoops your ass. You have to like do twice the damage to beat him. Like there are unexpected moments for sure. In the World Tour mode that I found that were good in some ways and bad in other ways, but ultimately it did kind of just grind me down to the point where I wasn't really enjoying playing it anymore. And that's when I just started diving into the fighting. And so let's talk about the fighting engine in this, because it's amazing. It literally may be the best fighting game I've ever played as far as how it feels to actually fight and play the game. Again, it's been a long time since I really got into a fighting game, but like the drive system in this, very intuitive. It's like a lot of those expert systems, that extra layer that they put into fighting games, like anymore, I don't get into them because I'll play the game for like a day or two and I'm like, okay, I get it. I understand how it works. I can talk about it on GameFace. This one, I have dived in and I've been going through the training and figuring out how it works. And I've learned and mastered like a huge portion of the fighting engine. Still not 100% though. Like there's still some of the stuff that I still can't pull off. Yeah.
There's always advanced stuff. Like the thing about this game is the drive system. You can incorporate that immediately into your gameplay. It's not like the focus dash cancel stuff in 4 or whatever you call the secret the hidden extra system thing in 5 that I don't even remember the name of. But it's really good because like intuitively you can understand what the drive systems are for. You understand what the drive parry is for. You understand what the drive the drive cancels do. Like that, those are harder to pull off. But like, or just the drive. I can't remember the official name of the basic drive hit thing.
Yeah.
and you understand how to counter it. Like if you see that graffiti pop up, hit your own, and you'll counter them. Like,
it makes sense. You do like a parry, and then once you do that parry, that opens up a whole new set of abilities, and that to me is where it starts to get challenging, where it starts to get hard. The timing for me, I'm not quite there yet. I can do some of the stuff, but I can't do the higher level stuff still.
Well, following up on an advantage is kind of the key to getting better at any fighting game. So that makes sense. But I just think
that's the hump I'm still trying to get over.
As opposed to like when you see someone do stuff like that, you understand instinctively kind of how you should have to be able to do that. Whereas like if you saw someone do like some of the high end like focus dash cancel stuff in 4, you're like you would never know how to do that because you have to look up at what frames it works on and how and like you got to risk yourself on it. It's still risk reward, but it's much more user friendly. And then like, there's still very high level things to do with it that like newbies aren't going to be able to do. So the pros get something cool out of it, but like you don't feel like you're missing part of the fighting system because you're not advanced in in the lab every day.
Yeah, because all you have to do is hit that left shoulder button, and you can initiate drive. Even the most novice player can at least take part in at least part of the drive system with very rudimentary knowledge of how to use it. So I agree with you. I think it's the system that they've designed here. It scales across skill level like big time, and I think once you start using the drive system in its most simple forms, the other learning starts to pile on and layer and dovetail until next thing you know, like a day and a half later, you're an entirely different player than you were. Like I am getting so much better at this. Like when I first started fighting other players, I would probably win 1 out of 3 matches. Now I probably win 50% of the time, and I'm hoping in another 3 days I'm getting up to 60% of the time. Like, I am noticing a real progression for my skills.
I have only lost 1 match online,
which is insane.
And that was my first one because I didn't realize it defaulted me to modern.
Yeah, I don't
because the first online matches I did were in Battle Hub. And it obviously you have to set your character and your control scheme there before, and I didn't know that, so I just sat down to play a game at one of the machines, and it gave me Luke with modern controls. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna lose this one. Like, so I'm not gonna. And I switched over, and then I've been fine. And slowly I'm fighting better people, because especially like with the ranked, as ranked learns how good I am.
Yeah.
So okay, now I'm gonna start. That streak isn't gonna last that much longer probably, but because there've been some tight fights.
Yeah.
So, but like in like Battle Hub,
that's
like,
crazy. You haven't lost. I mean, I think the matchmaking in this is not great. Like, they could make the matchmaking in this better, I think. Like, and you're right, the more data they have, the better it's going to become. So
I mean, it's early day. I haven't played hundreds of matches or anything. I've been playing a few dozen. But it's got to learn that I have good win.
Honestly, Matt, once you've played 50 matches, it should have a pretty good idea of how good you are.
50?
Yeah.
15.
Yeah. But I'm saying once you get to 50, it should have a good idea.
Right. But I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
But I'm already moving up. But also,
I'm kind of close to that. I've probably, fought 30 or 40, I'm guessing.
I've fought more in Battle Hub. Yeah. I haven't done as much in... I enjoy the social aspect of that in a weird way.
But I haven't seen a lot of close matches. It's like either I kick the shit out of somebody or they kick the living crap out of me. Like, I haven't had a lot of nail biters.
I've had a few. Like, it really depends who can figure out or download you. Like, and a couple times, like especially with the rematch stuff, because with like rematching in Battle Hub, there was like one guy I played who like I beat the hell out of him in the first match, and then he came back and beat me first round next match. I'm like, oh, did he figure me out?
Yeah.
And then no, he didn't.
No, he just got lucky.
He did not get lucky. I had to change some things up.
Oh,
okay. Like you got as Alex Valle says, first round is data.
Well, that's the other thing about the Battle Hub is that there is no matchmaking. You're sitting at an arcade machine. People can scope you out and be like, oh, this dude's only fought 3 matches. I'm going to sit my ass down and beat his ass. Like, there's nothing that Capcom is controlling there to keep people from playing you that are way better than you.
It's literally an arcade.
It is an arcade.
It's an arcade.
Yeah.
People can just sit down
Which is, again, why I try to stick to the menu option instead of the Battle Hub more.
Yeah, I like the arcade thing a little bit because you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah. It's like a box of chocolates.
You never know. Like, I mean, I learned the hard way early on that I'm like, okay, I went down to the Avatar thing. I'll see what this works. And I played like some guy... I played Andrew a little bit, but I also played other people. And then that's when I realized, okay, maybe I should go back to the World Tour and unlock the drive system before I start trying to play people who can do the drive. Because if you don't have that, it turns out you're at a slight disadvantage.
You're in trouble. Yeah. A slight one. What is your favorite new character, Matt?
Oh, like to play or like design-wise?
Either or.
I think design-wise, my favorite is Kimberly.
Okay.
The graffiti artist.
Yep.
I think
this game is just slathered in hip hop, by the way.
To play, I'm not very good with him yet, but I like Jamie.
Okay. Because I haven't played with Jamie yet.
I like a drunken kung fu character who is not an old man.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's cool that he's like.
You don't have to be old to be drunk.
No, I think it's cool that he's like cool. Like he's young and cool, and like he's a hot young dude who does drunken kung fu.
Yeah.
Like, I think JP has potential, but I don't have my head around him yet.
I've been playing him.
I think they're all
just because
good.
he's so out of character for Street Fighter. I
think Manon is very good. Like she's a different. Judo makes her a different character. I'm not very good with her, so I'm probably not going to play her too much. Mm-hmm. But like I think she fits real nice. Really, the only one I have kind of like on is Lily.
I'd agree. Yeah,
but like,
or wait, no, who's the Amazon girl? Marissa.
Oh, Marissa, the big wrestler, the Italian pancrat.
Yeah.
I like her. I don't like that her hair is Magneto's helmet.
Yeah, it's a little
but like
weird.
otherwise, I think she's a cool character. She's not. I'm not a grappler player, but it's like, but she's got some cool ideas. She's very funny.
She's like the female Zangief.
Yeah. Well, that's her big goal. She wants to fight Zangief.
Right.
And I'm like, I can respect that.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah. Heavy's moving in.
Apparently they were done watching there. Ready to participate. They're all real good.
There's not really one that stands out.
Yeah, there's no loser. I mean, I think is it Lily? Is the little girl the Mexican? I think she's related to T-Hawk.
Not the graffiti artist.
No, she's
She's a Native American with the maraca things.
The big boomerang maraca thing. Yeah,
she whooped my ass when I fought her against the computer. Man, I could not figure her out.
Yeah, she actually reminds me of Nakaruru from Samurai Showdown a little bit. I mean, I'm sure she's a cool.
She reminds me of some characters from Monster Hunter, actually.
Oh yeah, there's some. Yeah, those weapons do kind of look like that. I don't know. I find her. I'm not interested in playing as her, and she is very annoying to play against.
Well, she whooped me when I fought against her. She's AI.
Once people get better at her, like online, I have a feeling she's going to be like my new Cam. Because my weak character against character is Cammy. For whatever reason, Cammy has always been able to like confuse me. Like no matter what. Like I will get hit by that cannon drill every fucking time. Like, I don't know what it is. Like 30 years later, and I'm just like, I don't know.
I can't
there's
stop
something about her mix-ups that I just don't I haven't figured out in a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
My main character is still Guile. Like I've been playing Guile as a main since 4, and he has a lot of cool new tools. And like the other thing is like when you play those character introduction things, even the existing characters you've played for 30 years, like they've got a bunch of cool new ideas. Like Guile has a way to interrupt his low roundhouse. He has a really good like low medium combo that can combo in almost anything you want. Like he's got all these different tools now that can get him around a lot of his old weaknesses, and that's really cool. Admittedly, some of that might have been in later Street Fighter V stuff that I just didn't play because I really dropped out of Street Fighter V.
Yeah, I think most people did.
Early.
Yeah. Like I usually play Ken a lot, but I haven't been able to connect with him in this game for some reason.
Ken is weird in this one.
I don't know why.
I think they changed him up a fair amount, and he's supposed to be depressed. So he's kind of
broody.
He's sad dad in this one.
One of my mains too is Blanca, and while I don't like the look of him, the way he plays has pretty much remained the same.
Yeah, Blanca is a pretty consistent character.
I was able to jump in and play pretty well with him like right
Chun-Li,
away.
I've been playing. I played as Chun-Li's style a lot in World Tour mode early on because you get her like second, and so she was sort of my go-to.
This game is so bizarre, man. Like it's just so weird.
Metro City is a strange place.
It's like I don't even know how you think of stuff like this. Like
there's a little side quest where this guy sent me to like destroy a bunch of barrels, and you destroy the barrels, and there was a note on the barrels, and it says scheduled for pickup. Please do not destroy. But this is Metro City. Rest in peace, barrels. It's like there's a lot of Final Fight in this game.
Yeah.
Like there's characters from Final Fight that show up. At one point,
Big Jim is Hagar's
Big Jim is that. Hagar's dead. Apparently, I didn't know that because it's Hagar Memorial Stadium.
Oh, I didn't realize
Mike
that.
Hagar Memorial. So he's dead. Like I'm like, what happened to Hagar? Are we ever going to find out? Like I didn't know that. If that happened in another Final Fight, I missed it. Like a couple other characters, like the blonde like first boss of Final Fight shows up as a gang leader.
Yeah.
So does Retsu.
Crossover.
One of the guys from Street Fighter 1 is a side quest character in this. Like there's a bunch of deep cuts in this.
Yeah.
Like there's a celebration of Street Fighter.
It really is. Yeah, it's a kitchen sink approach to be sure.
And I love when everybody's just like, oh, you might want to meet that weird guy who wanders around all the time throwing a fireball. Like everybody knows Ryu, but doesn't want to mention him in case he shows up or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a blast playing this game, Matt. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
It's been nostalgic in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
while still feeling new and vibrant.
Yeah, it's like a weird balance of both of those things, which almost nobody gets right.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I can't believe I'm saying it. Like, kudos, Capcom just killing it.
They are killing it right now.
And like every
and it's
area.
paying off too. Like financially, Capcom's doing really well.
Like just the only thing I could say is there's like, doesn't look amazing at times. Like, and I understand that part of that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah.
There's so many people running around in that thing.
Let's be honest, Capcom's never really made a game like this, an open world like action adventure style
Not on that
game.
scale,
like,
yeah. And like everybody, all the guys that attack you have cardboard boxes on their head. I assume because they don't have to render different faces for everybody.
They have to render just a cube, and then it's have to make that way they have to all look different.
But they made it like part of the story. Like there's a whole thing. Like at one point, like I think is it Marissa who like knocks the box around so the guy can't see, and just punches him in the face. It was like it's got a sense of humor about itself that kind of makes the shortcomings of the World Tour mode kind of
endearing
a little bit. It is endearing in a weird way.
Yeah.
And then if you really get tired of it, you can just always go over to the fighting grounds and just sort of play.
Which is what I've done.
Fighter.
I've stalled on World Tour, and I just go over and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get better at the game now.
Well, that's the other thing is like World Tour is so like kind of World Tour is so kind of self-contained and self-explanatory that you could go back to World Tour in like a month and you wouldn't need to like catch up on what it was.
Yeah, it's also not complicated. It's not one of those things you're like, I don't know where to go next.
It's very easy to play.
Yeah.
And like it's like all you need to worry about, are you in the right location? If not, go to a different location. Is it day or night? If it's not,
go to the room and change the night cycle. Yeah.
It's all very much laid out there for you.
Yeah. Yeah,
even the rudimentary puzzles are sort of like, now maybe you should enter that number you found into your message thing. It's like, oh yeah, I get it. Thank you.
Yeah.
My first RPG. Cool.
Yep. So overall, Street Fighter 6, the bee's knees. It's a really, really great fighting game. It's going to be interesting to see the rest of this year because we have Tekken 8 coming. We have Mortal Kombat 1 coming. It's great to have a year where we're going to have like a fight over the best fighting game.
There's going to be an actual best fighting game category this year.
Like, we may have a real discussion over in our Game of the Year awards over what the best fighting game is for this year, which is something we haven't done in a really long time.
And then you run into the whole thing about, like, is the best fighting game the best fighting game?
Right.
Or is it the best package?
Right. The best produced game? Is it the one with the most options?
I'm going to bet Mortal Kombat's going to be a slicker package
in
this in an overall sense. But is it going to be a better fighting game? I cannot imagine.
It's hard to imagine that happening.
Like,
and you know me, I'm gameplay first guy, so you know where I'm going to lean.
I mean, fighting games, I tend to be that too. I mean, this is one of the best fighting games I've ever played.
It's really good.
This thing deserves its scores.
I probably wouldn't give it a 9, high 8 probably is where I would fall.
I would give it 9.5.
Wow.
Right up there. This is one of the pinnacles of the genre.
It's really good. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I don't know. There's other fighting franchises that if we were to get a new one, I would assume I might like more. Mm-hmm. Like Virtua Fighter, if they put out a new one, it was really good.
I mean, Virtua Fighter is my favorite 3D fighting series. I would do nasty things.
But I have a feeling that franchise is dead.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think that's ever going to happen. But this is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not
all the people that made Virtua Fighter great are gone.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I don't even know where Sega
have to start now.
Sega have to assemble a brand new team to do that, and who even knows how to do that except the people that are already making Tekken.
That's true. You know? Yeah. So that's 2 enthusiastic thumbs up from GameFace for Street Fighter 6. Let's go check out chat. It doesn't feel like a lot of you guys are playing it. It doesn't seem like a lot of you guys are talking about it as you.
We don't have a huge fighting game crowd.
It doesn't feel that way actually. Sneaky asked, does it do a good job introducing everything to new Street Fighter players? Is it hard? I think we already talked about that it is really great for noobs.
Yeah, it's got a lot of good onboarding.
We didn't even mention how it automates some like really hard moves. You can just press a single button.
Yeah, the modern controls, I'll be honest, I don't understand how the modern controls work very well. Like they're kryptonite to me. But I assume if you don't already have 30 years of muscle memory from the 6-button controls, like it'd probably be fine. I really can't tell you.
Vincent, is Capcom the best third party these days? It's up there.
Yeah.
I mean, now you've seen how Ubisoft has fallen.
Between this and
all the remakes that they're doing and Monster Hunter.
I don't even like Monster Hunter, but I can.
But you got to respect it, right? Yeah.
We got Dragon's Dogma coming up. I mean, like just in terms of consistency.
Faradol says, or Notzerk says, Guile is my kryptonite. I think a lot of people feel that way about Guile because
Guile's
someone
a
who's
tough
good with
character.
Guile, man, is hard to handle. That's all there is to it, man. It can be very frustrating because you can't jump in.
Yeah, he's a zoner. He's one of the best zoners in the history of the genre. I will say, though, that just from my dabbling with JP might be better.
Really?
Like, I've seen JP manhandle a couple of Guiles online.
I can see that. He has a lot of moves that keep people away. It's hard to get in on him.
One of his,
once you do get in on him, he's toast pretty much.
But one of his super arts can hit you from across the screen as you're juggling.
It comes up from the ground too.
Watch and see. I think JP is going to be one of the early tournament favorites. Like you're going to see some shit with that character.
It's possible. What else we got here from you guys? AJ the Legend Watson, who always asks the best questions. Do you think Capcom has something up its sleeve by using the open world assets in this game to possibly make a new IP? I mean, to your point, Capcom hasn't really made open world games unless you count Monster Hunter. Mm-hmm. It's just not really in its purview.
Yeah, it very slowly kind of dips its toe, and it took Monster Hunter how many games to get to
before
what
it went
really
kind of open world.
That? Yeah.
Do I think this engine can handle that? No.
No, I mean, like, maybe an updated... Like, the pop-in on this is real noticeable. Yeah. Especially in, like, the big, like, Times Square area.
Yeah.
But it does the job just fine. Like,
people are saying no Tekken 8 this year. I thought for sure it was coming this year.
No, it's up in the air.
Oh,
like,
really?
They haven't said for sure, but, like, I would not... I mean, I didn't put it on my fantasy list for a reason.
Veritas says, I'm playing it right now. That's why I'm not talking. LOL. All right, fair enough, man. Erebus Jones, it looks cool, and I'll get it, but Diablo won this face-off for now. Okay, the game's always going to be there, man. It's not going anywhere. And we're about to talk about Diablo 4, and you'll understand that we completely get where you're coming from. Cantano reminds us that Dragon's Dogma is open world. That's a good point. Yep.
Although it's kind of open world in a weird way that like feels like an extension of what Monster Hunter was doing. Basically, it's Monster Hunter without loading, because the areas are pretty small. Yeah, and you're kind of running paths.
It's a little bit like God of War 2018, God of War Ragnarok.
A little bit, yeah. A little more open than that, I would say. Outside of like the obviously it doesn't have the big open water section. Yeah. Ride a boat around. But yeah, no, I mean, Dragon's Dogma is also very weird for it's a very unique Capcom game. Yeah. It feels Capcom once you kind of get around the jank, but like, and you can see sort of the pedigree of some of that. But like, you know, Dragon's Dogma is such an interesting game. Like, there's nothing else quite like it in terms of how all those weird pieces come together and form this unique whole that you're either going to love or hate.
A lot of people are about to find out with Dragon's Dogma 2.
Well, they should go pay $5 during the Steam Summer Sale and get the original with the DLC, because it only comes, I think, with the DLC thing, which is basically like a giant dungeon. Yeah. That you just delve down after you've done the main game.
There are tenets of that game that Matt and I can guarantee are going to be in the sequel. For sure. And if you don't like those, it's going to be a deal breaker for you.
Yeah, I think it will be smoother than that, because the first one, the jank is real.
It is,
for sure. Mm-hmm. But it's so much fun. Once you get like in the groove and you kind of figure out what you want your character to be, and there are no real bad choices, although the Arcane Archer is the best character class in the game. Like that is, you are God with a magic bow. Yeah. Or, but if you even just want to be like a straight up sorcerer, like there's no bad choices in that game. Yeah. Like they do a real. It's one of all the games I've played that have like open world and be a different class and mix your classes and hybrid class, like, all that kind of D&D stuff. I don't know. I can't think of another game that is more friendly to playing whatever class you want to play. Yeah, there are no bad classes in that game.
Well, we are about to talk about Diablo 4.
Yeah, well. Speaking of bad classes.
So anyway, that's 2 thumbs up from GameFace for Street Fighter 6. Excellent fighting game. Hard to imagine that there'll be one that's better, at least for the actual fighting, in 2023.
There you go. Zinni says Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen is under $5 on Steam right now.
Go get it.
Go grab that. Yep. Or if you're not playing Street Fighter.
Yeah, you could save yourself $70 later.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper than Street Fighter. I'll give it that.
Okay, let's move on. We've teased it enough. It's time to talk about Diablo 4, the game that weirdly just came out today for most people. Yeah. I feel like I've spent a lifetime playing this game already. Yeah, because I played the beta for 30 hours or 20 some hours.
And like the server smash, and
then there was the server. I did not jump back in for the server smash. I only played the first beta period, and now I've played it again. And the first thing that really struck me, Matt, is how long it took me to complete what I had already completed in the beta. I played this game for like a day and a half, hardcore, before I finally got to the point where I started playing new content.
Yeah, that beta, they gave you a lot.
It's unreal. But, I remember when I'm playing the beta, I'm like, why would they give me so much And now I realize because the game is gigantic.
Yeah, because they barely gave you anything.
I mean, literally, we barely scratched the surface with that 20-some hours that we played in the beta. This game is just ginormous and almost at times, like, overwhelming. But the one thing I did like about playing the beta was that I played the ranged class in the beta. Actually, I played, what was it, not the scout... The rogue, maybe?
Rogue, I don't think it rogue. Maybe it was rogue. I can't remember the name.
It was the class where it had both ranged
I know what you're talking about. It's the
and melee.
The successor to the Amazon.
Yeah.
And all that, yeah.
And so I played that for the beta, and now I jumped into the final game. I've been playing the Necromancer. Mm-hmm. And I'll admit, I think I liked the rogue better. Playing as the Necromancer, I felt like it got repetitive pretty quickly.
Well, the Necromancer is pet classes are always going to be like that to some degree. I do like the flexibility of how you can decide what your Necromancer is doing when your minions are running around. So like your style seems to be drop the corruption stuff and then
the rogue
swing at them.
It's a class
rogue and swing at them with the scythe and so I've never used my scythe. I have a blood boil ability that like pulls blood out of the enemies and restores my
health.
Not my health. It restores my mana.
Oh.
So that then I can use the mana to throw blood spikes at guys, and each blood spike that sticks in a different enemy makes the next blood spike more powerful, and then I have a slowdown circle thing that makes them vulnerable to it, and then I can make all the corpses explode and kill everybody that way, because the corpse explosion does not cost mana.
Yeah. The skill trees in this are insane. Yeah. You can literally, this character, so you can see how I'm playing the Necromancer. You heard Matt explain how he's playing the
They're very different characters.
Completely different in how they're played. And both of us, obviously, having no problem making progress through the game.
No.
That is, to me, is really the strength of Diablo 4, is that you can really, even within each class, you can find 7 or 8 different ways to play that same class.
Yeah, it's very easy to find things that are like, that feels like it just should synergize, and it does.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there's better and worse ones, obviously. I'm sure there'll be min-maxing to be done. But, overall, I feel like whatever I want to try, I can try, and it works pretty much how I expect it to, and if I like it, I stick with it. If I don't, I pick something else. It feels better than 3 sort of free association thing, because it just feels less limiting, and it's simultaneously it's less limiting, and it feels more like a choice.
Yeah.
That in this one.
Yeah, I'd agree.
This is much more inspired by Diablo 2 in terms of progression, character building, and just general design, and it is wonderful for it.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful return to form if you didn't like Diablo 3. And I did like Diablo 3, but I just felt like it was a little something. It just didn't quite feel
I didn't
right
play it very much.
Neither did I.
I played it the week it came out, and I never really went back. I didn't finish it either. I never went back, and I will finish this game.
Oh, for sure.
This is
one of the easiest to play games in terms of just how smooth it is. It's like there's no friction to it at all. It's like I can just play this and never worry about I can't describe it really. It's so simple. It's nice.
Yeah.
It feels good.
It did force me into complacency though, because as I said, playing the Necromancer, it does start to get repetitive because I didn't need to change what I was doing to make progress. Mm-hmm. I never got to a point where I hit like a loggerhead where the game is telling me, Shane, what you're doing isn't working anymore. It's time for you to go back into that skill tree and look at a different way of doing things. So I just kept plowing forward.
Me, that would be bad design for this kind of game. Yeah, that's not how you build your character to work a certain way, and that's how they work. You should never have to reinvent your character because the game throws a weird thing at you like that.
It just became repetitive after a while. Maybe that's my own flaw that I haven't just gone in and been like, you know what, I'm going to mix it up and make it fun. You know?
You can do that if you want, but the game should never force you to do that. If you're enjoying how something's working, you should be able to keep playing that.
Yeah. And look, it does layer stuff on. So, for example, as you can see, if you're not familiar with the Necromancer, he summons stuff. When you first start, you can summon, these skeletons.
And you can summon all of them, not like 3 where you had to pick between skeleton warriors or skeleton mages or the golem at one time. Everybody can be out at once. You can see. Everyone can be out at once. It's great. He's got his army back. Fantastic.
I've got a little army following me around. And all you have to do is you have to kill an enemy, and then you can spawn it from that dead blood spot. and then you have a perk, and then you kill 2, and then you spawn from the. And next thing you know, you got your army rolling around with you, and
you got a handy little thing. If you see little green numbers down at the bottom, and then right almost in the center there, that's your numbers of how many of those you can have. Yep. So every time, you don't need to count them manually. You just look at that thing in a big furball fight, and like there you see the one's gray. You're missing one. Yep. You got to raise more. Like that's great. It's fantastic. It's so good.
And that's really what this game does, man. Like I was talking about Street Fighter having tons of options, layer and stuff, and dovetailing. This game is like dovetail the freaking game.
Yeah, like there's so many things where I'm just like, oh, I wish I could. Oh, you can do that. You thought of that. Okay. Like it feels like the developers and especially the UI designers are so far ahead of you in this game. Like did you want that? We saw that coming. We knew you were going to want that.
It's like managing the stuff that you summon as the necromancer. Like that menu is very, it's very intuitive, very easy to understand. This game in general, it's almost overwhelming, all the stuff in it, but the way everything is laid out, it's never intimidating.
Yeah, it's so friendly. Yeah. For something that's about demons and hell, and it's so friendly. Like,
yeah. How do you feel about the story?
It's fine.
It's better.
It's better. Lilith is an interesting villain. Like, I mean, how many times can you do the same, demons are taking over the world thing? It's certainly...
There's some nuance. Yeah, you meet some of her, like, lovers and things like that add some new wrinkles. I mean,
she's a cool villain. Like the scenes with her and how she sort of like she approaches things in a different way from like Diablo or Baal or what's his name? Who was the other bad guy? Azathoth or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it actually. I could spell it, but I can't pronounce it.
And it's like she's just a different angle, and she has that weird twisted like I'm actually doing this out of love. Right. I created this world and like and you're the descendants of my children, and there's that kind of inherent corruption thing, or it's sort of like it. Because
one thing that's a little weird is like you run into people in the world, and they're like, "Oh yeah, she just walked by." Mm-hmm. You're like, "Wait a minute!" Like
she was just here. You missed her.
I know, it's so funny. Like she's just like walking around the world. Like you would think that she's so powerful, she could just like appear somewhere or like fly.
She can, but she prefers to walk.
It's weird
because she wants to see her world.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
It's the arrogant.
Like, oh, you just missed her. She just cruised on through here with her buddy, and you're just like, what?
I mean, that's always. I mean, Diablo 2 had that too. Yeah. Where you were the narrator is the guy who followed your character from the first game, who was corrupted by the gem around, and you're kind of chasing your old character, who you never quite see because. It's always kind of been like you're trying to chase these people around sort of thing. It's less in this one because you can go anywhere and do anything. It's such a giant map that you're like, it's a big coincidence that she was right here because she could have been fucking anywhere. Especially if you divide your time between the different act stories, because acts 1 through 3 can be done in any order at the same time as long as you're a high enough level for it. And there's a point where like if you're jumping back and forth just because of where you end up on the map, like you're like, okay, y'all are in very different places at the same time.
Yeah.
But like, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't. No. But the game is laid out really smartly. Like you can follow the main path like very easily. Side quests, I love how they handle those. Like you initiate them by talking to somebody, and then they put a waypoint on the map. Yep. And then you can just stumble across it and complete side quests.
Even if it's not your active one, you'll see a little outline on the map, and then like if it's something you got to find, it'll like shrink as you get closer to it. Yeah, very well designed, very friendly, you
can tell this game was in development for a long
always
time.
I mean, it's been 11 years.
Yeah,
there's always something to do. There's always there's a world event happening or like weird things.
I haven't stumbled across many of those in the retail version of the game.
Tons of them.
Like you mean where like sure events where there's like a circle and there's a horde mode. I'm talking about like where a massive boss like appears.
Oh no, those I don't think those unlock until you get further in.
I fought one in the beta.
Yeah, but I think a lot of stuff's different in the beta.
Yeah, but I haven't seen any yet in this retail version.
I don't know if they have those in the first world one, like the tier 1 thing.
Interesting.
Or at least
I'm on tier 2. I'm playing on tier 2
until you get to a certain level, maybe.
That's a big decision you got to make, by the way. When you start playing, you got to choose whether you want to play tier 1 or tier 2. I chose tier 2. I'm having no problems, and I'm not like God's gift to Diablo or anything. Like, so I would recommend people play it on tier 2. Because you get more XP, you get better drops. There's a lot of incentive to play it on the harder difficulty setting.
I mean, I would certainly say if you have experience in this genre.
The boss fights were harder tier 2 because I played the beta on tier 1 and then I played the retail on tier 2. Mm-hmm. And the boss fights are definitely harder on tier 2.
I mean, you can switch if
you can.
Like, yeah.
I thought about it. Let me tell you, man, because the other thing I would say, Matt, the boss fights in this are tuned to perfection to your character. Like, it is literally, like, right on the edge of, like, you get down to, like, there's 2 pixels left and you die. Like, that happened to me, like, 5 times in a row with one boss, and then finally I got that last hit in, and it's like, I don't know how they did it, but they tuned the difficulty of the bosses in this perfectly to what your character is, what level it is, what powers it has. But it's challenging. Like, the boss fights in this, like, you'll walk through the whole dungeon and then get to the boss, and the boss will just whoop that ass.
Yeah, well, that happened. Like, that's the main thing that breaks it up is, like, when you're handling just the general mob stuff, like, you're just kind of wandering through. It's a very easy thing to kind of, like, just sort of get into a rhythm and, like, blowing up corpses. Okay, I get him. Okay, it's just chaotic. It's very satisfying. Yeah. And you get to, like, some kind of boss or mini boss. You're like, oh, the real shit's here. Okay, yeah. I better pay attention now. I'm going to turn the podcast down.
Yeah. That's when you start thinking about, like, the sequences, because generally you can just walk through this game being haphazard. Like, when you start fighting the tougher enemies, that's when you have to start learning, like, what the smart sequence is for firing off your attacks and how the cooldowns work. And, I go through the sequence, and when I finish sequence, the one with the lowest cooldown is ready to go again. And you go through the sequence again. Like, in the boss fights, you got to do that. In the rank and file fights, though, not really. Like, you can
freeform however you want most of the time with that.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sure that's different once you get up to, like, tier 4.
Sure, yeah. Right? But the bulk of the fights there are more like a means to an end in this. Like, I rarely ever died just fighting, like, out in the open world. Or
I've never died.
Oh, really? I have. Like, I've got caught off guard sometimes.
I mean, your character is more in the thick of things. Like, I stand back and just... I mean, I am
You're just directing
commander.
things.
Yeah, I'm not... I'm never... All my attacks are distanced. I have no involvement in the melee.
See, mine's by design, because the first thing I do is I throw out that mud pool that poisons them and slows them down. So I step up into the mud pool because they all get stuck there. It's like a fly paper.
Yeah, so what I do
is I just stand there, I just hack them with my scythe.
I throw down the decrepify thing, and that slows them. And then it slows them and drops their damage, so as my minions come in and start hitting them, they're not doing as much damage to my minions, and it makes them vulnerable to my blood spike. So I'm just throwing that in, and then just as they start to die, I start blowing the corpses up, and the exploding corpses cause more corpses. Yeah. So then I blow that corpse up, and it just becomes...
Exploding corpse is very powerful.
And it always has been kind of the bread and butter of the necromancer, but like...
Yeah.
And then, of course, I I'm using the same skeleton, like the warriors with the scythes, because they can... The
more powerful ones.
Well, they're more powerful, and also I have them set to the thing where they will cut corpses off stronger enemies and bosses, so I can then use those corpses to explode. Like, the synergy on everything is very satisfying.
This is Diablo, people. If you have not played Diablo, this is what it is. But it's figuring out how the stuff works together to chain
But this
things.
is also better than it's ever been.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is the best Diablo game they've done.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of non-PC players have not played a lot of Diablo. People who have been console players for a long time.
Yeah, you've been able to play 3 and 2.
Right. But they came later.
You don't need to play 1. One didn't age.
It's a different beast, yeah. But a lot of console players have just kind of rejected these games. They've sold well, but they aren't selling 20 million like they do on PC or whatever. So a lot of people are like, what's the big deal about Diablo? And that's really what it is. It's figuring out your skill tree, figuring out which abilities complement each other and chain with each other to make the next one all the more powerful, all the more devastating. And when you hit that, there's very few feelings in gaming that are the same. Like, when you find that chain that just annihilates. And to be fair, it does wane eventually, that feeling. Like, and that was what I was getting at. Like, it's very samey, this game. Like, you're right, you can fire it up and you can just start hacking away and playing through another dungeon and fight the boss at the end. But it all is very samey. I don't, even playing, like, the Necromancer versus the Rogue, there's still a grind that is established eventually, where it's almost just like muscle memory that you're just...
Yeah, I mean, it's a dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
They're all that to some degree. It just depends what speaks to you better. And there's a difference between, I'd say the Necromancer is definitely better if you want to sit back and sort of, like, command the action. Maybe if you're more new to things, like, it handles more... you got a whole army backing you up. Whereas, like, I played the Sorcerer in the beta, and she was a lot of fun, too, but she was a different kind of fun, and it felt more like juggling. Because, I could affect everybody, and I was like, her thing was she caused damage over time on a bunch of stuff, and so I hit this guy with my ability, and you can see the life bar is like marked, so like he's gonna die. He's gonna die from that hit, but it's gonna take him like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So you're sort of hitting all these people with it, and you're kind of using other abilities to stay alive long enough for them to die because you don't want to waste the cooldown of that ability to hit them twice.
Yeah.
So it's like it's more like juggling, and this was more like commanding, and then the other classes I'm sure are different twists on. So basically, you got to find the class that gives you the fighting style that's going to keep you interested long enough to get through this kind of a game.
That's why you're watching GameFace right now, so we can tell you this stuff. So before you dive in, you have a plan.
And I would argue that Diablo does it, especially Diablo 4, does that better. I mean, look, I don't care about the barbarian class. I'm never going to play a barbarian.
Me either.
But there are people that love that. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. The only other game of this genre that I've played that I think does such a good job of giving you almost anything you could want to play as is Titan Quest.
I've never even played much Titan Quest.
Titan Quest is, I mean, it's not on this level, but it is very, very good, very, very long now that they've added all those expansions. But that one, you've got 8 classes, and then you pick a second class at a certain point, and every different combination of all those 8 classes is a different class.
Oh.
So it's like 64.
Permutations and combinations.
Whatever. It's a lot of different ones. And whatever you think is interesting, just put them together, and you're going to end up... there are stronger and weaker classes, but they're all viable.
I think that's true of Diablo as well.
Oh, for sure. Like, I don't want to play a barbarian, but I'm sure the barbarian...
I've watched people play it, and they crush it. Yeah. It's like...
I think the barbarians might be the best class just from a raw damage output.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It should be, but, like, in terms of that, like, solo play, like, you could make an argument for the necromancer, but you can make an argument for the barbarian, because the barbarian's never going to... Barbarian can use 4 weapons at the same time. Like,
it's crazy.
It's whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And I haven't even touched the druid.
Me either. How do you feel about the gear?
Gear's good. Like
it's also a little overwhelming, I think. It's like there's so many drops. I'm constantly like having to drop something to pick something up.
I mean, I just ignore it at a certain point. I mean, at a certain point, you got to just be. I mean, early on, you got to start ignoring white items and just pick up anything blue or above. At this point, I don't.
But sometimes those items are actually more powerful than what you have equipped, even though they're not like legendary or whatever.
The effects on are just the armor rating. Ignore it.
Yeah.
Pay attention to what they do.
The special effects that they have.
This one, okay, I found 2 yellows. One of the yellows gives me like 25 more armor, but this one gives me 11 on all stats.
Right.
And you got to pay more attention to that because, like, honestly, armor is not that important.
It really isn't that important. Yeah.
It's the bonus abilities they give you.
Yeah. And that's a whole math equation that you have to like figure out, like how you're multiplying certain abilities. And
I won't even pick up something below yellow now.
Yeah, me either. There's no point. But
I have more money than God. Like, it's just,
but there's still I've that's the other thing, Matt. I have so much money. And I don't feel like there's anything worth spending it on. You go to the shops.
There will if you get to the end game.
Everything in the shops, they're lower powered than what I'm just picking up out in the field.
You're not supposed to buy anything in the shop. But money is for end game upgrading.
Yeah, I have just this huge bank of cash, and I don't do anything. I use it to like repair my weapons, and that's pretty much it. Repair my gear when I come to a blacksmith. That's it. Like, that's all I spend my money on.
I've never repaired any gear.
Really?
Because I never died.
Oh, well, I guess you're right. If you never died,
I bet there's a challenge for that. I probably have to intentionally die at some point and repair gear. I bet there's a challenge for repairing your gear, huh?
Or an achievement or something.
Because there's a challenge for everything in this game.
Someone was asking what version you're playing in chat.
PC.
Yeah, you're playing PC. I'm playing PlayStation 5. And they guessed it right. They're like, let me guess. Matt's playing PC and Shane's playing PS5.
But I am playing it with a controller. Suck it.
Yeah. Oh, you're playing with a controller?
I think Diablo 3 and 4 play better with a controller.
Why would you not? Like,
it's so good.
It plays fine with a controller.
And you could. I switched to the PlayStation 4 on Diablo 3 for a while because it had controller support. They never put controller support in the PC version.
Really?
There's something about the engine wouldn't do it.
Oh, interesting.
So now 4 does it, and it's I think it's better.
Huh.
And I don't think that about like Titan Quest or a bunch of other games in this genre, but they made this thing work with controller better. I mean, I'd rather do that than have to click all the fucking corpse explode.
That's one thing.
Because that's the other thing I will say. This game is so smart about where I want to do things. Like, it's always right where I want to put that decrepify circle, which corpse I want to explode. Like, it's so smart.
It is, yeah.
Like,
it's almost scary.
Thoroughly impressed. I'm like, I would like to blow that one up. Boom, there it is.
It blows up.
Like, it's so smart.
Again, it's just over and over, you can tell how much time has been spent developing this game. Like, it just feels like there's years of polish on this game.
Yeah,
and there kind of has to be.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. This is just, I mean, it's so the opposite experience of Immortal.
Could you imagine being Rod Ferguson and being called in to finish and wrap up this game? It must have just been overwhelming. Where do you even start? There's so many options and features and systems on systems, like coming in and you weren't working on it for like the first 7 years with everybody else.
Honestly, I think you just throw a dart at the design dock and work out from there.
You just start from that spot. Like, I mean, it's
Rod. It's Rod. I'm sure he knows.
He's the finisher, but
he knows he knows what shape things need to be in before you can start working inward. But
it would be interesting to learn eventually where this game was when he came in and what he actually did to get this into shipping.
Yeah, that would be a very interesting drunken kitchen conversation.
Because I don't think he would ever share that.
No, exactly. That you'd have to be at.
That's at Pactor's party when he's had half a bottle of scotch.
Yeah.
Conversation. Yeah, like he wouldn't talk about it with the press, like on the record or whatever.
No. That'd be a.
But I would love to know, because it's again, like we haven't even talked about the end game. Mm-hmm. That's this whole other thing that's like a whole game unto itself. Like, if you're a person who like only buys games that you can get the absolute most value out of, I really struggle to think of another game more worth buying than Diablo 4 this year.
The map is so big.
I mean, I've played this game for like 40 hours, and it's like 1/10 of the map is opened.
Yeah. And they got 2 expansions coming.
Yeah, I do think like almost some of it is just
probably have at least
much.
One class each.
Yeah,
right?
It's just. Because the other thing, too, is that, like, these zones are so big that, like, you see the same, these environments games, over and over.
These games are expected to be played for years.
I know.
There are people who this is what they play.
I know. That's all Diablo. They play, I know.
They don't play other video games. They play Diablo.
I mean, there's people that already hit level 100.
Yeah.
That's bonkers.
One of the guys in my clan is 100.
That's insane, Matt.
I mean, he's been playing for, like, 5 days.
I mean, that person has not done anything but play Diablo.
No, he has not.
I mean, I've been playing the living crap out of it, and I'm like level 30 or something. Like I don't
think I'm 40 yet, but
like
I'm high 30s.
That blows my mind.
I have the top level golem, so
yeah, I haven't got there yet. 35. So you're ahead of me. Yeah,
that's 32 or 35. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think I'm like right at like level 30 or something like that. So, and I've been playing it as much as I can.
That was the only interface issue I had was I couldn't figure out how to summon the golem.
Oh, really?
Because it turned out it's a separate skill. It's not the same.
Oh.
It's not the same as the summon skeleton, so I had to like switch to that, summon it, and then take it off my hotbar.
Well, that's the other thing, too, is that these summons are a skill that you can level up 5 different levels, and then you can get the advanced one. Like, it's the skill trees in this are just
and then
bonkers.
They've all got different... there's 2 different like kind of permutations of each summon you can pick from, and then there's a third option where you can't summon them anymore, but it gives you a bonus to your character, a big boost. So,
I have not chosen.
So you can play a necromancer that has no summons, but just has a bunch of buffs from choosing not to. Have summons.
Which I would never do, but that's why I play the necromancer.
Right.
To summon.
But they put it in there.
Yeah.
It's there
for people who may want to try something else.
If you want to play a necromancer that does not rely on bones, or does, because there are like I think the bone abilities, the bone-based abilities, and maybe the blood stuff, I bet you could make a pretty solid tank out of it, like a minimum tank out of that.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't be a barbarian, but like it's viable.
Yeah,
like it's an
absolutely.
idea.
Age of Legend Watson asks, is there a Sifted clan? There absolutely is. Any of you guys playing Diablo, you can join the Sifted clan. Just search for it. It is open. There's no passcode or password that you need to get into it. It is set up. You will see my character is already attached to the clan. Just search for Sifted, SIFTD, and join on up. And that's the other thing, Matt. I have not played with anybody else. So that was supposed to be the big feature here, is that open world, MMO-ish with other characters around. I've ran into like 3 other characters the whole time playing this. Like, I was in like a little impromptu horde mode thing, and some dude jumped in and helped me with that, and then ran off, and I never saw him again. I saw like 2 other human characters in the world. I realize some people may be really excited to hear that, because some people don't want other characters in their Diablo game.
But I've seen more than that, but I think that's going to change today because the game's out.
Right. Now
like,
today, it's
early access.
Everybody gets it. Yeah.
Remember, to be there, you either had to have a code or you had to pay $100.
Or PR. I think PR sent me a code.
That's what I said, a code.
Oh, I thought you meant like through like your pre-order or whatever.
No, there was no pre-order code. It's just that you just get access on Battle.net or whatever.
Oh, okay.
It just goes live when it goes live, depending on which version. But if you got, unless either you got a code like us or you paid an extra $30 for like 4 or 5 days of early access, which is a little.
Yeah, to some people it's probably worth it though.
I guess.
Yeah.
All I wanted was the Wolf Cub backpack, and I got that.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that I needed to go an extra mile in the beta to get that.
You got to get
stuff.
to level 20.
Yeah. I thought I had got to level 20, but I guess not.
I will say I got to level 20 much faster in the retail. I felt.
Did you?
I felt like it happened, but I was grinding a little bit on the
beta.
But maybe it's just because there was more to. I never ran out of place to go, because I did end up in the far north at one point, without meaning to, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'll go do the main quest, and I realized I was doing the Act 3. And like I was like, I don't remember this part from the beta because I finished the amount of stuff that was in the beta in terms of story, and I'm like, oh, these are different characters. This is Act 3. But that's how seamless that all works.
But the fast travel's great. Like once every little town has a pad that you activate, and you can then fast travel to that town. Like everything is just works the way it should. I really struggle to find a lot of criticisms of this game, Matt.
No, I don't have. I don't know.
And again, I'm not like Lord Diablo or anything, but I really struggle to find much to criticize in this game.
I think I don't have anything bad to say about this other than like, you know, I mean, it's everyone's individual choice whether they want to support Blizzard or not.
Yeah.
All the weird shit Blizzard does.
Yeah. And you know, either you like this genre or you don't.
Yeah, but
otherwise.
This is definitely my favorite Blizzard franchise, and this is the best Diablo game they've ever made.
I can't disagree with that.
So, like, there you go.
Yeah. It's really, really good, and there's so much content. It's just gigantic.
Yeah, if you could just play actually, that's the one downside I was thinking playing. It was like, I wish I didn't have to play all these other games coming out this summer because I could just play this till like September.
You could keep going forever and ever.
Yeah.
And then you hit the end game, and it becomes this whole other entirely different beast.
It was difficult to pull myself away and play Street Fighter at one point. And then I got sucked into Street Fighter, and I'm like, oh, I should go play Diablo.
Yeah, they're such polar opposites.
Yeah, they're
other
very
than the
different
fact that they're both loaded with content.
Yeah, like they are both like they're both games that have learned very much the correct lessons from their slightly disappointing predecessors.
Yeah, and they're both games that I would recommend for people to buy without
just
a second thought.
Back.
I mean, the value you're going to get out of both of these games that we've talked about today is like it's going to. I would say it'll be tough for another game to top either one of these for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Now, there's a lot of games in the Game of the Year conversation.
There are, man.
But this is up there.
It's going to be tough. This is a great year for video games, guys. I mean, I don't know how many more times I got to say it, and we're only halfway through. We're only halfway through the year.
Barely know what's happening. I mean, we got Starfield. Maybe Starfield will be good enough to be in that. I mean, that's the thing is like, even if Starfield is like the best launch like Bethesda's ever had, does it match some of the best stuff that's come out this year?
I don't know.
Like,
I mean, I still really love Harry Potter, like Hogwarts Legacy.
Just the smoothness of the experience of this and Street Fighter and presumably Spider-Man 2. Yeah. We know how Insomniac rolls.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And then we got,
what a great year. So
even Forza 8. Oh, yeah. Like those games are always incredibly smooth.
Yeah. It's, we're lucky to be alive right now, people. That's all I got to say. And the crazy part is, you know, we're at this stage where there just aren't as many games coming out as there used to be. Like, it's like 1/5 of the number of games per year are released now. Mm-hmm. But it's just the quality level, it's all the timing, all the delays from last year. It's just all culminated.
Yeah, I don't miss the Golden Axe Beast Riders.
No, and that's true. I mean, truth be told, 50% of those games were trash.
Or more.
I mean, our standards were different then because games just weren't as great as they are now, let's be honest. They weren't given as much time to develop them and blah, blah, blah. So, everything has just worked out for 2023 to just be amazing. And it's like, it's tough on the wallet. I know, believe me. There's a lot of great games that you could spend money on right now. And now they're all $70, so they're up to $10 more and blah, blah, blah. Cinetike is asking you, Matt, any of the recent PC bugs or problems we've been seeing? Granted, you have a baller PC. And you're right, your PC can brute force a lot of stuff that other people have issues with.
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
The first time I loaded it up, it took like a minute to load up my character screen. Like the first time I played it, it took like a long, to the point that I thought it had frozen, and I don't know what that's about. It does seem to be tied to the new graphics drivers I downloaded, but after that it was fine.
Okay. Which is a big deal because, well, here's the question that I have, Matt, is like, how has launch been today?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that's been a problem with Blizzard's games. On launch day, you have to wait in queues and sit in. So I don't know. Maybe you guys have been out there in the wild and know. I haven't played it today. But I'll say this. During this early access period that I've been playing, instantaneous.
No
There's
queues,
been no
really,
queues at all. Just right on into the game. And to your point, on PlayStation 5, loads like a beast. It's crazy, too, the size of the world that it's loading, and it's just in a snap of the fingers. It's there it is.
Actually, that's also true on Street Fighter.
Yeah.
On PS5.
The loading is like instantaneous.
Instant.
Yeah.
Even the online matches.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, it's fast.
It's really
Snappy.
that's one of the reasons it's so smooth and easy to play both of these games, because you never have load time to think about your life choices.
No, you're right. There's no time to check your phone or for text messages, or it's like, oh, here we are. Yeah.
Like I've gotten a couple where especially playing Diablo a few days ago, where at some point I had a couple messages I was like, where are you? Are you okay? I mean, you haven't said anything in like 3 hours. I'm like, oh yeah, right.
You can get lost in both of these games for sure. Cinetype says, Matt, probably the shaders compiling.
That's probably what it was. It's weird that you do that on the select your character screen, especially because until that loads, it just says create character and it doesn't show that you have a character.
Right.
And when you're level 30 something, I'm like, where is my character?
Heart attack. Yeah. Panic mode. Erebus Jones says, as a veteran of the D3 launch, credit where it's due, the D4 launch has been really smooth. So just logged in. AJ the Legend Watson says, no queue on PC.
There you go.
Awesome.
Right in the middle of the launch day.
All the consternation, all the hand-wringing.
And it's 6:15 on the East Coast. Like, it's getting to be prime time.
People are off
there.
work. Yeah. So if it's not buckling right now, it's not gonna. Jump in and play it. Buy Street Fighter. Buy Diablo 4.
It's like, you remember that Diablo 3 launch.
Yeah.
That was a mess.
It was a mess. A lot of their launches are. Yeah. Diablo Immortal was not great at launch. No. It had, like, long queues. So.
And it was Diablo Immortal.
And it was Diablo Immortal. Blizzard's figuring it out finally, at least. It said, like, last week that it was very, very confident that there would be no issues, and
it
was right this time. Yeah. So that's another 2 thumbs up from GameFace for Diablo 4. You probably could have guessed this already, because we talked about the beta for a long time. Like, and we were both really positive on the beta, so you probably guessed that we were going to like it, but now having played the retail, everything's good. Everything's clean. No crashes. I haven't had any crashes. I did have Street Fighter crash once.
I think I did have a crash after the graphics driver update, but it crashed like 2 seconds after I loaded into the game, and I just had to start it up again.
That's where it happened for me. And no crashes in Diablo. These games are clean. They did a great job.
That was Diablo that crashed for me.
Oh, Diablo. Yeah. Okay.
But that was, again, I think that was a shader thing, because I'd skipped through all the logos, and I think I just broke it.
That's funny how just skipping through the opening like logos and credits can sometimes screw with the game. Really bizarre. Let's see if you guys have any questions about this before we move on. Barry Lomax says Street Fighter 6 froze for me once. I don't think so. Time Zini, I played for like 10 minutes and uninstalled the beta, then got hooked during server slam and ended up getting the game through graphics card upgrade. Interesting. What, you didn't like the beta, but you liked the final game. I don't know why that would be. Because honestly, the one thing I would say is, like, I don't see a lot of difference between the beta and the retail. Like, that beta was rock solid, man. Like, it was really good. Which is why we were really hyped by it. We're like, man, it isn't even done yet. It's not even, like, final version. This is already playing really well. No, you guys don't have any questions. That's the other thing, too, is I do think Diablo, a wellness check from El Guapo, how you feeling? I'm getting a little squirmish. I will say this. I do feel a little bit better than I did last Tuesday, but I'm not, like, today I'm a month post-op. A month. This was supposed to be a week and a half to 2 weeks. And so I called my doctor in a panic yesterday, and she was like, you're panicking. And I'm like, I am panicking. Like, I'm starting to wonder if this is the way I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And she's like, no. So she's at some...
I had that same feeling after mine, because it was taking much longer than they said it was going to take. And, like, I mean, like, the whole... I think they told me the same thing they told you. It's like, oh, 3 months and you'll be back to 100% normal. And I'm like, I am not. And
I'm definitely not. I'm in pain right now, and I brought pain pills again to take during the show. But so she's at some convention, and she's like, I'm calling the girls at the office. You are going to get the first appointment when I get back. So I have an appointment on Thursday at like 9 in the morning to go in and have it checked out. So I don't know, man. Barry Lomax says you won't. I had knee surgery. I've had 2 knee surgeries. I've had my ACL reconstructed, and I had my meniscus surgery last year. Remember that? And you're right, my knee feels worse than it did before I had the surgery. It's a huge mistake. So anyway, I'm just trying to stay patient. It sucks. Like right now, I've been sitting in this position for a really long time, and it's become painful. So we still got some stuff to get through here on the show. I'm going to try to fight on through it. But anyway, that's Diablo 4. 2 thumbs up. Go buy it. It is interesting, though. It is an acquired taste. Like, you can tell by the response in our chat, the muted response in our chat, that like some people just don't care for this genre of games. Like they're just not interested. So for those of you who fought through this conversation, we appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, you can make the best Madden game ever, and I'm still not going to play it.
That's true. That's true. Okay, let's move on. We're going to talk next to a gigantic announcement yesterday. Although, if you look at Apple's stock price, you might not think that it was a great announcement because its stock price fell like a full % or something after.
It also fell after they announced the iPhone. So.
It did. Well, that's the funny thing about Apple. If you follow its stocks, is like anytime it does anything, its stock price drops.
Yeah.
It's
a combination of like, oh my god, that's never going to work, and all the true believers being like, that wasn't as revolutionary as I wanted it to be.
That's part of it.
You can't please everybody at all.
The other part of it too is that so much stuff leaks out that new stuff they claim is already baked into the stock price. So people had already bought Apple stock in anticipation of this new device before the device was even actually announced. And so even if it's the crazy part, Matt, is Apple will announce, say the experts think that Apple is going to fall short of revenue expectations. Apple will report that it destroyed expectations and make all the press look like morons, all the analysts, no offense, Factor, look like morons, and its stock will go down. It's crazy. The stock market is insane, by the way. Yep. There's like no rhyme or reason to how this stuff works. But anyway, its stock did go down after it announced its brand new product, Apple Vision Pro. And again, we've known about this for a long time, that Apple was working on either an AR HMD or a VR HMD or one that had both. And as it turns out, Apple Vision Pro is both. It is both VR and AR. Matt, what were your first impressions of this whenever you saw it? Yeah.
It's
okay. $500 or $3,500.
I'll worry about it in 7 years when anybody actually cares.
When it's actually designed as a mainstream device.
I mean, I've been using Apple stuff since 1986. I've been, forever. Never buy Apple hardware until the third iteration at the earliest.
Well, mostly because that's when the price comes down. Where the average Joe can kind of afford it.
Well, and also they figured out what it is more reliable. You're not going to run into like manufacturing issues. Like whether it's going to be a success or not. And even that's not. I mean, I've never felt the need to buy an Apple Watch. I just don't.
I didn't either. And then I got one. My wife bought me one, and now I love it.
Yeah, it's just not. I don't care. I never liked watches much to begin with.
I had never worn a watch.
I just don't need it. It's not. I don't need it. Like if someone gave it to me, like you said, I'd use it. But like I don't. It's not a thing I need to do.
Like I like going on a bike ride and not having to take my phone with me. I can just wear my watch is a cellular version, so it will send me the alerts. Like if something's going on at home, like text me. I get all the pertinent info that I need on the watch without having to carry the phone around. So it's just all about lifestyle. Does it fit your lifestyle or does it not? Like if you spend a lot of time at home, why would you ever need a watch? Why would you ever need anything like that? So I guess it all depends on your life. But so this is priced at $3,500, which is insane. It's coming out in early.
This is a HoloLens kind of thing. It's a developer tool right now. Or a developer toy, depending on how you want to.
They're saying they're only going to produce 150,000 of them, like first run.
That should be enough.
And but I do think it'll sell out.
Probably. I mean, there's
like HoloLens sold like 20,000 units. Like this will sell 150.
There's enough rich idiots in the cult to do that. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of rich people that are Apple fanboys.
I'm an Apple person who I have family members that work at Apple. I can say that.
Yeah,
it's
fair game.
It's a weird fan base.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
Well, the one thing I would say is like if you watched this initial presentation and didn't follow up later, you might think that like it is overpriced. First of all. Don't get me wrong. This is crazy overpriced.
I mean, that's probably what it costs roughly to make that, but it's like, why would you pay? So what?
Apple has gone like, some people
I can make
a
PlayStation 5 out of diamonds that would cost that much too, but it's like, why would you want
exactly.
that?
Like somebody would say Apple went above and beyond with this. Some people would say they went overboard with this. Yeah. And the truth is, this is the best VR, AR device on the planet by several multitudes.
Sure. I mean, it fits the old insanely great thing.
Yeah.
But it's also, it leans kind of hard on the insane.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm sure they know the reality of the market. And whatever.
Yeah. They're not stupid.
The other thing, of course, is like, they're trying to make this into the next iPhone. They want this to be a thing that everybody wears and everybody uses. Obviously, that day, it will not look like that.
Yeah.
It will be more of a fashion-forward object that is more compact and more... but it's a starting point, you know. It's like the original app, the original iPod didn't really do what you expect an iPod to do now either.
So I'm just going to pause it here because this is one of the few points where they actually show it working with gaming. They don't show any VR games in this whole presentation, by the way.
I don't think they have. I mean, I think it's a display device.
I mean, they had Kojima there, who Death Stranding's coming and all his future games are coming to the device or whatever. But here's the thing about this. To your point about talking about they want it to become an iPhone, I do think the idea is that this device eventually replaces the iPhone.
That would be their ideal scenario,
Yes. And I also feel like, as time goes on, they're going to start marketing this as it replaces more than your iPhone. It also replaces your 70-inch OLED TV.
Well, and also keep in mind, like, there is just to get a little dystopian for a moment now, this is tying in with the idea that no one's going to be able to afford a decent place to live.
No, you're right.
This is the idea. This stuff... This is the corporate angle on, you can only afford like a studio apartment.
Shoebox? That's
Who cares? Because you can visit anywhere in your VR.
And you have no idea you're sitting in this dinky little closet.
Right. And that's why you're going to pay $1,500 for it.
Because you don't have to buy a TV.
Because you don't have to stare at your fucking wall anymore.
I do wonder.
And everybody's tied in. It's going to be a huge social FOMO thing. Because early on, it doesn't matter. Because look, you know, it's so community and interaction driven that it's like the first iteration of this thing. You're only going to be able to communicate with people that are willing to and can afford to pay $3,500 for this device.
Right.
And I guarantee you, most of those people are not people you want to talk to.
No.
So like,
and they don't want to talk to you either.
Absolutely not. So don't worry about that. But that is the idea. And like, you'll see some of this. Like there is a look how small that room is.
Yeah.
Look how like. You're basically, you can't afford... Like,
Matt, all the new apartments being built in L.A. already are shoeboxes.
Yeah. And this is the Ready Player One thing. You know, they all live in boxcar
shanties,
like,
basically,
But it doesn't matter because
they're in this other world, and you're absolutely right.
That's what they're after.
It is. And so it seems absurd right now, $3,500, but 2 iterations from now, it costs $1,750. And you don't need to buy that $1,800 TV, and you don't need to buy that $1,000 phone anymore. And suddenly, what people think Apple is crazy about right now, it all falls into place, and you're like, hot damn,
and
they were right again.
The idea that it was this giant TV, and one of the most important things in this use case demo thing is when she changes the environment to look like a mountainside.
Yep. So there's a dial.
Watching TV.
So there's a dial on the side that you spin.
You literally turn down reality.
It's a reality dial.
Yeah.
Yep. You can bring it back in, and it's like a sliding scale.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I am not saying that's cool.
Yeah.
It is cool in a tech sense, but there is a creepiness to this.
Look, she just lays down in the bed, and now she's staring at the sky. I mean, it's really freaking
Who cares
crazy.
that you're in a tiny apartment that like no, it's
you turn on a fan so you can feel there's a breeze blowing and
there is just such a massive opiate of the masses thing happening here. Like that, like the goal here is like that's it. That is the key. Like you are no longer where you are.
Yeah.
That is what they're selling.
Yeah.
And it's what they're trying to, and because that will be the escape from the reality that you are forced into, and that is extremely disturbing.
Yeah. AJ the Legend Watson says, I don't see it. As my wife said, I enjoy watching television with you, not feeling separated because we both have equipment on our faces. I can understand a perspective, but I'm telling you, over time, that is going to change. It just is.
I mean, I agree with that, but at the same time, people younger than us probably don't.
Yeah, they don't care.
And B, that's why they have the display that shows your eyes.
Here's the other thing.
Them, because like the idea is like you are not. There's a bunch of things in this video which are like use case. Interact with your child so they don't feel abandoned by you and your headset. Like that is...
Well, they're basically saying film your child's big milestones with this, because the thing is, when you record it on this, you can go back later and watch it as if you're there.
Like if the Batman like AR detective
it's trippy AF, dude.
And then if you're in the, like, I don't think this works yet, but they've talked about like there's people that are working on the tech that have talked about like event, like say you're at a birthday party for your kid and a bunch of people have these headsets. You can combine all the recordings and get a full recreation
like a
of
master
the room you were in.
It's insane.
And I'm like, okay, this is literally surveillance on a level that you have never thought of before.
The other thing, too, is like...
You thought Alexa was intrusive.
Yeah. What you're thinking right now is like that you're seeing through the headset and seeing their eyes. That is not what's happening.
It's a video of their eyes.
It is an OLED screen facing outward, and there's a camera that's recording their face, and it's just showing their face. It's insane. The other thing I saw people complaining about, oh, it's tethered. Oh, it's wired. It's actually not. That cable goes to a battery, and this is another genius thing.
A magnetic cable that goes to a battery pack.
Yeah, to a battery pack. This is another genius thing. So if you think about things like the Quest, where you're paying more money for the model that has the more battery life or the more storage, now instead of Apple having to adjust the actual headset, you just buy a better battery pack.
Oh, and this is fascinating. Did you see this is the lens thing?
No.
Where you can buy your prescription.
Oh, yeah. You have to, though.
Slide them in because they don't fit glasses.
You can't fit glasses, and that's a huge drawback in my opinion.
That's why I got contacts, because glasses didn't fit in VR things.
That is to me, that's a big problem with it.
And that's going to be a lot of money.
Yep.
Those lenses are going to be a lot of money.
Yeah.
The battery packs are going to be a lot of money. I mean, Apple makes this huge gouging killing on all the... I mean, look how much a fucking lightning cable costs. Like, what, $40 or something now?
It's true.
It's a cable.
Yeah, I know.
It's a cable.
And it's going to get all weird and crinkled at the end after you have it for like a month and a half. Some other things about this. It really is. Like, I know you look at it and you're like, this is just another Oculus Quest. Or it's really not.
This is a big move. I mean, it's not going to be relevant to I think any of us because of the cost.
It's just too expensive.
But it's their big move.
Yeah, I don't think people understand.
There's a possibility 7 years from now we're all going to be sitting here wearing Apple Video Pro 6s and like making fun of our hot takes.
There's a possibility in 7 years from now I am in God knows where and you're God knows where, and we're doing GameFace wearing something like this. Like it's.
And everybody in the chat is just sitting there virtually in an audience.
Yeah, and they're not watching Twitch anymore. We're in the room with them.
Yeah, they're watching us on a stage.
Yes. So there's other things about
But how will Luna be involved? We can't get a little cat headset?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. There's other things about this, too, that make it different. It's not paired to anything. There's no pairing this. It has its own operating system running on it. It is completely self-contained. You can look at your Mac wearing this thing, and the screen of your Mac will appear in the headset. Just looking at your Mac.
Yep.
There you can see. Right there. That is not see-through.
That's a video screen.
That is a video screen showing her eyes.
My other question is the comfort of this thing, because the fact that there's no over the top of the head strap, which helps support the weight. Reports
are saying that it's heavier than other HMDs because they build it solid state. It's not made out of plastic.
It's very dense.
But the point is like other HMDs aren't making their HMDs out of plastic to be cheap. They're doing it to save the weight, so it's not uncomfortable to wear. The battery life. This
really feels like it was a complete blue sky design.
Yeah,
like whatever you want to do, like your imaginary super headset, just do it.
Yeah. The battery life by default only lasts 2 hours. That's bad, but you can plug your battery pack into USB-C and just use it forever.
That's good.
Yeah. So it's not paired to anything.
The battery pack is cursed.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah. It's its own computer, but as I said, you can pair it with your Macs. What is really flipping people out with this is the eye tracking in this is like, literally, they're like, people say, oh, it's witchcraft. People feel like it is witchcraft. Like, so the way you operate this, there's no controllers. There's no controllers, and there never will be. And how it works is there are like 16 cameras on the outside
I ain't talking to someone with that on. I'm sorry.
I know. There are like 16 cameras on the outside of the device, and how you select things is you just pinch your fingers together. And no matter where you have your hand,
it knows.
It sees it. And they said it is creepy AF. They said you don't realize how often you touch your fingers together until you start using this thing because it picks it up and it'll start like selecting stuff. And you have to almost...
It'll never work for Italian mothers. Abotanza.
Or Chef Boyardee.
Look what we've lost.
But anyway, they say the eye tracking in this is crazy. Like, you can look at something inside it, like the most minute pixel, and it will select that frickin' pixel. They said it's just crazy how accurate it is.
I will say that, like, there's a use case here where, like, I could scan everything in real life, and it would just tell me the Wikipedia article on everything I look at. And I'm like, you know what? That's pretty cool.
Yep. So it has like 10, I think it's actually like 10 cameras total.
I mean, that's some watchdog shit.
It is. It absolutely is.
You're going to be, like, some people I'm sure could hack out some things that, like, basically do the watchdog's personal info thing every time you walk down the street and look at it.
There will be an app. I guarantee you there'll be an app for that. It uses a login system called Optic ID, where it maps the irises on your eye. So you don't log in, you just put it on. It looks at your irises. You're like, yep,
It
that's
knows who you
Shane.
are.
It knows who you are. As Matt mentioned, you have to get Zeiss lenses if you're a glasses wearer, if you need glasses, because you can't wear your glasses inside. We talked about the cable, how it's not really connecting to a Mac or anything. It's just connected to the battery pack. We talked about the crown on the side to fade reality in and out, which is trippy to even think about. The other thing, too, is like people are like, how is this going to be successful? It's going to be successful because it's going to be the only HMD that allows you to use Apple stuff. So if you want to use FaceTime, you're going to have to buy this is the only HMD that will let you use FaceTime. And the FaceTime in this was built just for it. It creates like a 3D rendered version of yourself. So when people are talking to you on FaceTime, it's not really you. Yeah. It's like this weird...
Well, the eyes are. It uses the video of your eyes for that.
Yeah.
And then it kind of extrapolates the face from there. You can see it in that clip.
There's a clip of it, yeah.
The eyes look a little different than the rest of the face.
It's a little trippy.
It is. But, I mean, you can get used to anything.
Yeah, and as I said, it has its own operating system. It's called Vision OS. You can use it like a work computer. It's like you have 2 4K displays while you're working. So, I think enterprise is going to be what this is used for the most until the prices start coming down.
Oh, for sure.
But it's like you don't need a computer monitor. You can plug in your keyboard and you can sit there and work with this on.
Yeah, basically this is remember the old Kinect meme where it was like what you think Kinect will be like. It's like good morning Xbox, good morning Batman.
Yeah.
And like in real life it's like turn on.
Yeah, you're yelling at it.
This is going to actually be good morning Batman.
Yeah. Yeah. What else is there? Yeah, I think content is a big X factor. They didn't show a ton of games. For our purposes, obviously, we care about games. They showed you basically how you could use it as a TV to play your PlayStation 5. That's basically what they were showing there. Although, I think, though, that like NBA 2K is going to be on this and is going to be native to it. It's
they are using a PlayStation controller, though.
Yeah, they were. Well, they said that...
I can use a DualSense. DualSense is supported on my MacBook to the point that I had to get a data blocking stick so it would stop controlling my fucking desktop when I was trying to play things.
Yeah. But content is definitely the X factor. Obviously, Apple with Apple TV and all its services is doing a pretty good job. It brought Disney on stage for a partnership. That was probably the best partner they could have brought on.
Yeah, it's like, Disney Plus works on it. I'm like, for $3,500, it better take me to the fucking park.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I don't know. Like, right now, the selling point of this is eventually this is what the Mac OS environment will be.
Yeah.
Like, this will be the Apple environment.
It will be.
If they have their druthers.
That's what I think people aren't getting yet. But that's Apple. Like, they can see into the future about how this is going to work. Everybody else is like, oh, that's dumb. Oh, that's stupid. And then 2 years later, you're the one who looks stupid.
Oh, yeah.
That's how Apple works.
I mean, I'm obviously skeptical about this because of the prices, and I don't know if they. But at the same time, I still remember back when they debuted the iPhone, and all those BlackBerry people were like, "I would never use something without an actual keyboard."
I was one of them,
and it was like,
I once wrote a Madden review on my BlackBerry on a flight. And the people were telling me, like, you need to get an iPhone. I'm like, nope, I can type 50 words per minute on my BlackBerry.
I remember Blair Herter went out and got an iPhone like when it came launch day. I remember he like we got into work and he's like, I gotta go. I'm going to get it. And so he go in, guy came back with it, and I'm like, okay, let me try this thing because I was skeptical about the keyboard thing, and I used it for him. I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna work.
That's gonna work.
It's gonna work.
Yeah,
like
I didn't get an iPhone.
I didn't get one for like 3 more years, but like no, that first day, I'm like, oh yeah, that's gonna work.
My first iPhone was an iPhone 5, so I was very I'm typically very skeptical, but Apple has proved me wrong over and over again.
Well, saying like Zet Saber Jr. Remember when everyone mocked the iPad? I do. You know what the only way I read comics anymore is on my iPad.
Yeah.
Comixology changed that forever.
I mean, the watch, the AirPod, all of it. It's just like, who's going to pay $200 for AirPods? Like 50 billion people.
Lots of people, yeah.
All I got to say is doubt Apple at your own peril. Like, that's all I'm going to say. I have been made the fool
not
many
everything
times.
they do is a winner. The touch bar on the new MacBooks is garbage.
Yep, that was a huge mistake.
But I knew that
instantly.
I was like, that's a bad idea. That's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
This is overpriced, but it's not a terrible idea. In fact, it's a little creepy how well it works.
It is kind of creepy. Yep. And I think people will get over that creep factor, and it won't take long.
Yeah. There's gonna be a point when we're sitting around on park benches in our 60s, and everyone under 50 is running around with shit like that on their face.
Yeah. Although it'll be smaller and sleeker.
Oh yeah, it'll be like glasses, basically.
Yeah. And I do remember Google Glasses.
Oh yeah.
Jeremy Hoffman, who you know,
Jeremy Hoffman used to have them.
He had them, and he would wear them around work, and eventually he stopped wearing them
because they basically went away.
Yeah, they stopped supporting.
But I remember, I tried it I tried his a few times, and there's some cool stuff in there. And he would describe. He's like, you've got the Google Glass smile. Yeah, it's like as soon as you'd see it do one of those where you'd grin, you can't help. Be aware. You can't help it. It's like it's because it's so futury, and it's so it's so what you imagine the future to be, and there it is right on your face. Yeah.
One of the final things that they floated about this, as far as content is concerned, is setting up partnerships with the major sports leagues. That's and again, the one thing you got to remember is this is Apple. It can do this stuff.
And they want to be involved with
the smaller guys can't do it. Apple has the capital to do anything. And so they're talking to the leagues now where you can pay $10 or $20 to sit front row at an NBA playoff game or
a concert.
50 yard again, Apple.
Imagine them going to Ticketmaster and being like, you can sell infinite front row tickets for whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, I would hope that Apple would stick up for us in that case, but probably not.
Probably not. Not if there's a cut to be made. But again, instead of letting people run around charging secondary market thousands of dollars for Taylor Swift tickets, you could just sell all those Taylor Swift tickets.
And there's no end to it.
No end to it. Everyone can be in the front row.
There's a billion seats. Yep. It's just never ending. I know it's hard sometimes when you see some of this stuff. It's very easy to just want to be negative and be like, you're wrong, you don't know what you're doing. But every time I've done that with Apple, I've looked like a fool. And I'm not going to do it this time. It's totally ridiculous.
It's got time.
We'll all be lucky if we know one person that has one of these. And God, I hope we do, so we can all try it or whatever. But
I already know who I'm going to know that's going to have this.
I think we all do. 4 or 5 years time from now, I think you look back on how you look at this with an entirely different perspective. So, Andy T. Monahan says that removes scalpers in a way. You're right.
There's no reason for Ticketmaster not to want to do that because it just lets them gouge more people. The reason Ticketmaster doesn't like reselling and scalpers is not because they think tickets should be a reasonable price. It's because they don't get a cut of it. Yeah. So there you go.
Yep, it's true.
If I were Apple, I'd be on the phone to them already.
Yep. Furax75 says, people who've tried it say the screens and mixed reality is so good that it's like looking through safety glasses. I saw late last night at 2 a.m. I was like, okay, I've done my research. I want to just go see what people who actually wore the thing were thinking. So I watched a couple videos, and they were all just blown away. Literally speechless about it.
I mean, I can see that. Even just seeing PSVR 2 with the black and white external camera was pretty
that flipped me out. That, I smiled. To your point, when that happened for the first time, I cracked a smile. Yep. And imagine this. So it's the future, people. It'll be a different future for all of us depending upon our means.
Where are my bionic arms?
Seriously. I want a bionic leg. I was going to say. All messed up. Let's see what you guys are saying about this otherwise. Seems like you guys were kind of quiet about this, but... Pharaoh Doll says, a little bit more expensive than normal. Oh, talking about lotion or something. Non-greasy is their whole thing.
It's a thing about using non-keyboard keyboards. Because if you use a lot of moisturizer, it's harder.
Gotcha. Fire Native, Apple will stick up for us. LOL. Yeah, that's why I said I wouldn't count on it happening.
No.
Yeah, you guys aren't saying much about this. I'm surprised.
Well, it's not relevant to anyone until the price becomes reasonable for anyone.
Lower third, referring to Link to the Past. No, it's late to the party. Because let's be honest, this is what Apple does. Apple sits back in the cut. It watches everybody else try stuff and make mistakes, and then it comes in and perfects it. Yeah. And then it makes all the money.
They're like, what about this? And you're like,
oh, I didn't thought about it that way. Yep.
Except when it comes to widgets.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of stuff that Android did first that took Apple forever to catch up to, and when they did, it's there's no new idea here. It's just the same thing Android's had for 3 years, but you finally put it in iOS.
Erebus Jones says this is a concept that won't take off while it's tethered to a walled garden. What are you talking about? Everything Apple does takes off. I don't know what you mean. Because it's tethered to the walled garden is why it will do so well, because people love Apple's walled garden.
Yeah, millions of people are already in that walled garden.
That's not what you're not getting here. Is that Apple's services makes more. I found this out yesterday or the day before. Apple's services business completely different from their hardware services. Just their services makes more money in a year than Nike and McDonald's combined. That's just their services revenue. That's mind-boggling. All those people are already in the system, Erebus. They're already in the walled garden, and they love the walled garden. You must be an Android user, is what I'm guessing. I don't know, but that's what I would guess.
It'll be fine. As long as they can come up with something that people actually want to do.
Yeah. Saber says, with this, corporations can forever F off on coming into the office for work. You're absolutely right. Like, there's no reason to go into the office if you have one of these. You're there. It's like, I mean, Zoom is so crude compared to this, and Zoom has allowed people to work from home. So imagine something like this.
Yeah. Well, it's even more seamless.
Yeah. So I know it's very easy to see something like this and see the price and be like, oh, they're insane and they're crazy. And they are for right now. But in a few years' time, all the dominoes will start falling into place and it will all make sense. That's what Apple does. And again, they've made me look like an idiot over and over again. I'm not going to let it happen this time. This time I'm getting out ahead of it. I'm going to be at least a little more auspicious on a new tech. This is also the first new tech that they've debuted in 8 years, Matt.
Wow.
Yeah. So you know it's a big deal. And you know that they think it's a big deal. If this is the first piece of hardware that they're going to debut in 8 years, they have big plans for it. So very interesting to see this in the very early stages. And I hope I do know somebody that has one so I can give it a try. Because I don't think at Apple stores they're going to let you put on a headset with...
I would think not.
Post-COVID, it seems like stuff like that is just over now. So I don't know where most of us will get to try it. Hopefully we all have a really rich friend who's an Apple fanboy who will buy one so we can all give it a go. But I do think it's an auspicious debut. I think the negativity around it is pretty much 100% focused on the price. And I do get that because it's outrageous. Like, who's going to spend $3,500 for something you put on your freaking head? Like, I get it. But that's not the way it's going to be forever. And I think over time...
You should see the price of hats.
Of what?
Hats.
Oh. What do you mean?
I'm sure Kim Kardashian has
her hats are a couple...
hat.
She probably does have hats that are worth more than $3,500. And that's pathetic. I just would add. Okay, we actually had one more topic, but we've ran out of time. So we're going to have to push that till next Tuesday. I've been playing Amnesia the Bunker. In fact, I finished Amnesia the Bunker. But we don't have enough time to get to it, so that'll be in next week's show. And because of that, it's time for... All right, it's time for Name That Game, where I show you 5 screenshots from a video game, and you try to guess the name of the game before this guy. A couple rules before we get going. If you've won this year, do not play. You can only win once per year. If you're not a PC gamer or you don't know someone who's a PC gamer, do not play because you win a game if you win this, but all the codes are for PC, so don't do it. Don't play at all. And what's the third one? I always forget the third one. Third rule. Don't play if you've won. PC only.
PC only. Slow mode, don't get
slow mode, that's it. It's slow mode. The chat goes into slow mode while we play. You only put in one message every 60 seconds. So don't spam the chat with just random game titles hoping you get it right. Because chances are the next screenshot will come up and you'll know it and you'll type it in and you won't be able to type it in. So make sure that you make your guesses count. We did pretty good last week, Matt. We got to what? Was it 4? The 4th screenshot last week?
I think so, yeah.
That's rare for me. That doesn't happen very often. And my goal is that you guys get it on the 4th or the 5th one. And it just shows you how much I fail at this. But this one, I think it'll make it to the 3rd screenshot. That's my guess. We'll see how it goes. Are you ready, Matt?
Yeah.
Are you guys ready? Here is the first screenshot.
It sure is grass.
It's grass. Do you know what grass it is? That's always the question. People get it from this all the time. No guesses. Everyone's like, they're like, oh, Shane scared me off with the slow mode. You guys get it from this a lot of times, though. Two Worlds 2, Diablo 2, no. Hunter Call of the Wild, no, but that's a good guess. Enslaved, no. Red Dead Redemption 2, no. Flower, no.
No, too realistic for Flower.
Well, he's already won, so he's cracking a joke. That was from Sneaky. Lawnmower Simulator 3, no. MGS4, no, but that's a good guess.
Yeah, House Flipper. That's what it is.
Okay, I think that's it. That's a tough one. It would be hard to get it from that one. All right, here comes screenshot number 2. More clues there.
Kind of looks like Forspoken.
Not Forspoken, but not a bad guess. Diablo 4, no. The Last Guardian, no. Just Cause 4, no. The Witcher 3, no. That's a good guess.
I would have known The Witcher 3 is
You would,
trash.
yeah, you definitely would have known it. Pressure Wash Simulator, nope. Immortals Phoenix Rising, no, but that's also a good guess. Dishonored 2, no. Any more guesses? Tomb Raider, no. Dishonored, no. That's a good one, too. That's a good guess, Justin. All right, it's looking like we're going to make it to the third screenshot. And I haven't been cagey with these either. I haven't done anything different than I normally do. Lawnmower Sim, I haven't won. Oh, I thought you had one, Sneaky. It's not Lawnmower Sim. All right, here comes the third one. Here it is. Elden Ring, no, but I could see where you might think it's Elden Ring. Matt, I thought you would get it from this one. Plague Tale. No, that's another good guess, though. Because of that sepia-like coloring. Yeah. Battlefield 3, no. Alan Wake, no. Dragon's Dogma, no. I can see where you might think I might pull that one out, though. Firewatch, no, but that's a good one. Microsoft Flight Simulator, no. Evil Within, no. Wow, I have 2 good weeks in a row here. I think we might make it to the 4th image for 2 weeks in a row. Hellblade, no.
Oh, right.
Sekiro, no.
Yeah, I don't recognize it.
There's 50 Cent Blood in the Sand, nope.
Always is.
Not this week. Some week it will be. No Body Harvest guest this week. Hybrid Heaven, no.
There it is.
I wish Hybrid Heaven looked that good. All right, I think we're going to the 4th image. An uncharted territory. And here it is. I mean, big clues there.
What is it?
Lost Odyssey, no. Oh, Emperor 1. Emperor, that would suck if I used Body Harvest now that you've already won.
Yeah.
That would be really dirty of me. Dragon's Dogma, no. Someone guessed that already. MGS 5, no. Dark Souls 3, no.
Is it that Kingdoms... Was it...
I know what you're thinking of, but that's not it.
That open world...
Yeah. The one that had controversy around it
Yeah.
because the developers were kind of scumbags?
Yeah.
That's not it. I know what you're talking about. Hitman, no. Age of Empires 3, no. Dying Light, no. Wow, we make it to the 5th one. Dying Light 2, no.
Chivalry 2?
No, it's not.
No.
But that's a good guess, though. Nope. Oh my gosh, Kingdoms of Amalur, nope.
Kingdoms of Amalur didn't look that good.
I think he was trying to guess the name of the game we were talking about.
Nah, yeah, it's Kingdom Come Deliverance.
That's it.
what it was.
Yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance. Yeah. Enslaved, no. Again, someone guessed that already. The Witcher 3, someone guessed that already. Kingdom Come Deliverance, it's not it, but it's a good guess. Wow. I think we're going to the 5th image. And the 5th one's definitely going to give it away. So be ready, guys. Okay. Sniper whatever number, LOL. Call of Duty COPD War. What?
For Honor.
For Honor, no. Xenoclash, no. All right, we're going to the 5th image. I'm giving myself a round of applause for that. That just doesn't happen. It just does not happen. Okay. Everybody get your fingers on the keyboard because this one's...
Assassin's Creed 3?
You got it.
Okay.
There it is. Matt wins. Name that game. Another round of applause for him. How did you finally get it?
I kept thinking the previous image kept making me think of Revolutionary War stuff.
Yep.
and I couldn't figure out what that would be, especially in that environment. And then I finally pieced together that those guys aren't medieval peasants; they're like colonial era people.
Yeah, good job, Matt. You figured it out with deduction eventually. And here was the 5th image, and that would have just totally given it away. I was like, I can't show the assassin at any point or any part of his costume or his gear because it immediately gives it away. So I was like, I got to go with environmental stuff. Yep. And there you go. It was Assassin's Creed 3. Matt, you've been doing pretty well this year. Is that the 4th time you've won this year, I think?
Something like that.
Yeah. You're doing pretty damn good.
My least favorite Assassin's Creed. Well done.
Yep. That's why I said I thought you would get it. Because I knew you hated Assassin's Creed 3. I actually love Assassin's Creed 3.
I didn't look at it as much as I would have.
That's what, you may be right. You may be right. So anyway, once again, congratulations to Matt. Sorry, guys. But look, you had 4 images and almost a 5th to get it. And you didn't, and he did. And so he deserved it. Yep. Great job. Everyone congratulating you in chat, which is awesome. El Guapo says, Remedy is the only dev I can think of that creates games that are all connected in some way. Are there other devs that do this? And is this something that more devs should focus on?
Bungie used to do that.
We're doing Q&A, by the way, folks. Yeah. We got some time to do some Q&A here. So
Bungie used to do that. Pathways into Darkness, Marathon, Myth, and Halo all took place in the same universe until Microsoft bought them and it kind of splintered a bit. They still reference Marathon, but that was all this. Bungie used to be all one universe.
Mm-hmm.
And
has Insomniac done a little bit of that?
Not really.
I thought maybe with Fuse, was it Fuse or Fused or whatever, and the Xbox exclusive. Was there not crossover between those 2 games?
Fuse and Sunset Overdrive?
Yeah. No. I thought there was, maybe.
If there was, I don't remember it.
Okay. It's not as common as you might think.
Capcom has like little mini universes, like Street Fighter and Darkstalkers and Final Fight and all those things all take place in the same universe.
Yep. It's not as prevalent as it should be, I think.
I think you could argue that Dino Crisis and Resident Evil take place in the same universe.
Maybe.
They don't cross over, but it's like, why not?
Yeah. But you're right. It's something that doesn't happen that often, and Remedy is one that, like, all their games have some element that connects them. There's connective tissue there.
It helps that they don't make a lot of games.
Yeah, it does.
Because it's like, what, 2?
It's like, yeah. Asking, like, another developer that puts a bunch of stuff out to do something like that, it's a little more demanding.
Yeah. Not too many others. It is interesting to me that, I don't know if you saw, somebody pointed out that there's like a rubber armor in Tears of the Kingdom, and the description says that it's an ancient material that no one knows how to make today, which implies that Hyrule is a post-apocalyptic future world. Which I'm just like, oh, that's interesting.
It's time for Shane's pain pills. Down the hatch. I made it the full 3 hours for the first time, though.
Yeah?
So, progress.
Yeah, I can't think of any others, really. I mean, everything else is too widespread, really.
Yep, I can't either.
It's not like the Pixar theory where everybody theorizes, that there's the old Pixar, all the Pixar movies are in the same universe.
Yep. Okay, Erebus Jones, have you got an out there prediction for the Microsoft Showcase? You guys know what my prediction is going to be. It's the same prediction I've had for the last, 4 Microsoft press events, showcases, whatever, and that is a new Banjo-Kazooie game. A real Banjo-Kazooie game. What about you, Matt? I'm going to just keep guessing that until I get it right. It's going to happen someday.
I don't think there's going to be anything out there for this.
I don't either, honestly.
We'll be lucky to get the bare minimum.
Because they don't need to be out there. They have so many games that they've announced that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
They need to show us the stuff that we know about.
Yeah, how about out there? It's going to be like, how about a gameplay demo of Hellblade 2?
Yeah.
Let's go. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Seriously. I'm right there with you. I feel the same way. Sneaky, will you be playing AEW Fight Forever? It's a mashup of No Mercy and Def Jam Fight for New York Fighting System.
That sounds like the worst afternoon I can imagine right now, so no.
Well, no, I mean, it basically is built by Ukes, and it uses the old N64 control schemes, which to me were like the perfect sweet spot between complexity and...
I have no reason to go back to that.
I just think the game looks like garbage.
That too.
I mean, they finally started releasing some raw gameplay of it. For a long time, there was 2 trailers, and they hardly showed gameplay. It was a lot of live action footage of the actual wrestlers, and they cut in one move or whatever from the game. Now there's actual raw gameplay out there. I don't know, Sneaky. That game looks like ass to me, bro.
Yeah, I mean, good for the people that desperately want a good wrestling game for the first time since the N64, really.
Yeah.
But like, I don't have enough connection to that.
We'll play it and we'll talk about it on GameFace, but I'm not expecting much. We'll see. What do you think of the legacy? What do you think of Sony possibly selling their financial group so they can buy other companies? I don't even know what that means.
That's a choice, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, what's the idea there, that they would have
to get the
capital freed up to buy more studios?
To buy more studio. I don't know.
So basically, you're saying Sony just goes full PlayStation and ditches a lot of its other businesses?
Somewhat.
I mean, that might be the smart thing, honestly. Because when was the last time you heard somebody say, "Go buy a Sony TV"?
Yeah, I don't.
It's been a long time.
The only department
since before HD.
The only departments making good choices are PlayStation and Sony Animation. So
yeah, yep. Cinetai, do you think we'll see new Pro consoles this gen with better performance rather than slim versions with the same performance but cheaper? I initially did not think that there would be mid-console refreshes for this generation, primarily because it took so long for them to be able to produce as many that they could sell. But a recent conversation that I had with Michael Pachter has led me to think otherwise. I'm not going to say anything else other than that.
I don't know. Maybe.
Take that for what it's worth. That's all I'm going to say about it. Sneaky says, I'll try to get you a code. That would be awesome, man. Thank you. What else we got? What time is it? Oh, we got 1 minute left. Here it is from Emperor Dread. I think Starfield looks like it's going to be a huge letdown. How about you guys? No, you're wrong. It's going to be awesome because it's on my fantasy team.
It looks like, I mean, it might be a letdown in the Metacritic, but it looks too much like the kind of game I want for it to be that much of a letdown.
Yeah.
To me, like even just that leaked controller, like that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love that aesthetic. I love the look of it. I
hope it's real.
I love what they're going for. It looks too good to be not real.
Well, they said today that they're going to show the new controller at the press event. So.
I definitely want that controller. I love the rainbow on. I like the 70s kind of. I mean, NASA Punk. I understand how they got to that stupid word.
Yeah.
From
that controller.
Aesthetic, even the controller. Yeah. No, even if it's janky as fuck, it's gonna be too close to like my dream game. The thing in my head, because like No Man's Sky was. You know.
Yeah.
It's still gonna be entertaining to me. It may not be in the Game of the Year conversation, but like, no, I look. The only way it could be a letdown to me is if it literally doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like I just expect bare functionality from this. Okay.
I will say this, that the fact that Microsoft and Xbox allowed Redfall to be released in the state it was in makes me a little nervous. But it also learned a really tough lesson.
Here's the thing. All the reasons Redfall sucked do not apply to Bethesda Softworks.
You're right.
Because everybody knew what that game was because it was announced years ago. Staffing up would not be a problem. They knew what it was supposed to be. They have made games like that before. Like, the problems of Redfall do not apply here. However, if it isn't ready or isn't polished or is going to be a similar sort of launching problem, I would hope that the days of Microsoft standing back and being hands-off with this shit are over, and they would step in and say, you got to delay this and polish it up, and we're going to wait until next year. Like, if you got to do... I don't want them to do that, but if you got to do that, I think they have to do that because... After Redfall, because again,
this is the last chance.
Again, as I said, even people I know who really pay attention to video games that I've talked to do not know what Redfall is.
Yeah.
No, it didn't hurt anything beyond the very, very core demo. However, Starfield might.
Yeah, oh yeah. If it's terrible, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think they need to be careful here.
Yeah.
And they better have something.
I hope you're right, because Fantasy League, whatever. It's not that big a deal. I just want to play a great game. I want to play a great Bethesda game. So.
Same. I just think there's as we talked about during the draft, like I think there's a non-zero chance this is the lowest rated first pick in the fantasy draft history.
Yeah, it could end up in 6-7 territory.
6 or 7s. Yeah, I don't. That's why I didn't pick it.
Yeah,
I'm just like I want to love it. I'm very. It's
also
excited
a Bethesda game, so.
Right. I mean, it goes the other way, but it could be a disaster.
Yeah.
And look, I don't think it'll be a disaster forever. I think they'll fix it up, and it'll by this.
That won't help me though.
No, it won't help the fantasy draft. No,
that's for sure. Okay, we got to wrap it up there. I see a ton of more questions in there. I'm sorry we can't get to more of them. We're out of time. Before we go, thanks to everyone who showed up live at twitch.tv/SiftedGames to watch the show live. You guys make the show better every single week. So thank you very much. I know a lot of you guys are in Europe. It's like 10 at night or like almost midnight. You guys are awesome. We appreciate you guys very much. We also appreciate our patrons very much. And we could definitely use some help there at our Patreon. Head to patreon.com/sifted. That's SIFTD. You can pledge whatever you want per month. Even $1 makes a difference for us. If you're listening to the show on any of the podcast services or you watch it on YouTube, why not at least just drop us $1 a month just to like as a nod or something? Like that'd be great. We'd really appreciate it. Also, don't forget LS Cream. Go buy yourself some LS Cream. Go to creamls.com/sifted, SIFTD. Make sure you're using that new URL so we can track the folks who are heading over to check out his awesome liqueur. Also, there's tons of other stuff there, like drink recipes, and you can learn about the drink, the Cremasse, and all that stuff. It's really awesome. And then we'll see you guys, as of right now, we'll see you guys next Tuesday. Now, again, all this E3 stuff is happening here, not E3 stuff, over the next like week or so. So follow Sifted, if you're not already, on Twitter, @SiftedGames, because if something were to change, that's where we're going to announce it. If you're not a daily driver on our website, which you should be, I don't know why you wouldn't be, but if you're not, follow us on Twitter, because that's where you'll get all the information on what's going on with GameFace and our coverage of not E3 and all that stuff. So, great episode, Matt. Always great talking games with you. Always great talking games with you guys. We'll see you guys on Tuesday for maybe the best episode of GameFace of the entire year. GameFace is up and out.